Ladies love the skin.
Ow.
Bring it a little bit closer. The good skin, that is. That's why having a proper skincare routine is very important, and you need to feel the teach. The process is so easy, just 4 steps. You got your daily face wash. That's going to clean your face up nice and right. You got your exfoliator scrub. That's going to open up your pores. You got your AM moisturizer with the SPM 20, which is going to protect you from the sun. You also got your PM moisturizer, which is going to make sure your skin is protected throughout the night. Tej has tons of reviews from dedicated customers across the world. I know I said a lot, but it's okay, because guess what? It comes with an instruction card to explain to you in detail what to do morning and night. And because Tej is a sponsor, they're offering my family 30% off along with a free gift. Just click that link that's in the description and feel the Tej.
Men who fear commitment.
Oh, I thought you glitched.
Men having a fear of commitment, sometimes we got to be honest. It's not a fear of commitment, it's that you're not really into that woman like that. Because you'll see situations where a man could even be in a relationship with one woman 5 years, talking about, I don't believe in marriage. Finally, they break up. 6 months later, he's engaged to somebody else. It's the fact that he did not really feel she was the one. But unfortunately, a lot of men rationalize why they still should be with this woman, give it a try, or she possesses things that he could use in the moment, so he holds on to that. Now, also, the fear of breaking up or walking away is also because men tend to have less of a support system outside their relationships. Like, women more likely have friends, have family. I speak to a lot of men who feel like, I can't leave her because I got no one else. And so they feel, I hate to use the word trapped, but they just don't feel like they can go anywhere else, but it doesn't get talked about a lot. So you'll see a lot of men who, and then if we're talking about marriage, there's the whole fear of splitting half the money, all this stuff. Even though you got some dudes who ain't even got money, worried about losing
I'm about
half
to
the
say,
money.
what's 17 divided by 2?
But it's a conversation that happens over and over and over again. All that to say, I think a man has to be honest with himself about, one, do you want something serious in your life? Do you want a committed relationship? If this woman is not really it, don't waste her time. Don't waste her time. Don't.
All right, man. I think you named something that I haven't really considered. He's mentioned something about men typically would probably stay because they don't have anybody else. So I'm just curious. I'm gonna go ahead and start with you, Ms. Chamonix. I'm gonna start with you first. I'm gonna ask you a question. What do you believe are the primary reasons behind men's fear of commitment in modern dating?
You know, I wish I could jump into a man's mind and see what the hell he be thinking. But I cannot. I can't assume though. I think it's fear. The grass is always greener on the other side. It's like, oh, if I commit to this, then there may be something a little bit better, you know, especially with social media, giving them this false sense of reality. I also do think that there are men who have placeholders, women in their lives that she is something about her that's missing, but I'm gonna hold on to her just in case something else better doesn't come along. I can't let her go because she's so great to me. I know I should, but I can't. And like you said, I don't want that conversation, like the conversation of, leaving her, she crying, keep, me having to answer questions. That's just way too much for a man. Some men. I think this is all on an individual basis, though. I think that there are great men who don't have any of these issues, right? But there are men who hold on to women who don't have any plans to carry it forth for the woman. They just feel like she's the woman of the seas for the season. And I do believe that there are men who just are scared that, dang, I love her. Maybe she'll have to do something like leave. And then he'll be like, okay, I'll marry you. But yeah, that's all I got.
Okay.
I don't think it's one size fits all.
All right. Is there any truth to what he said in the video? Do you agree with him?
Yeah, I agree with like I said, if it's not one size fits all, I do agree with a lot of the stuff that he's saying, though. Yes. Oh, the part about you're just not the one, and that's some people's situation. She's just not the one. That's the whole placeholder thing. She's just not the one. And then when that someone better comes along, boom, there it is.
All right, I'm gonna go to you, Darwin. I had the same question for you too. What do you believe are the primary reasons behind men's fear of commitment in modern dating?
I would say the primary reason is seeing uh, a woman's ability, the woman that you're dealing with, her ability to cooperate with you on a level to where you could commit to her. You know, you can trust in her that she's gonna stick with you throughout the long run. I think the fear is not knowing, not having enough signs or surety that this woman is gonna be able to, you know, hang in there whenever times get rough. I think that's what a fair commitment, because you got a lot of women that are really valuing trade-offs and transactional things in a relationship, to where if your impression is not strong enough and you're not hitting all the right points for me, you know what I'm saying, as far as what I'm looking for, then she's not going to cooperate. She's not going to give you those signs that give you that assurity that, you know, you could commit to her. I think Shan, I was watching, I mean, not Shan, but Mistaken, I was watching her. I don't know, it was last week or the week before last when y'all was talking about dating apps and how if somebody don't, you come into with a mindset that, you know, these are the things that you're looking for, and if they're not what you're looking for, then don't waste your time. And I think that women are moving like that to a point where they have this extensive list of things they're looking for. And the moment you don't check off one of those things is a moment where that cooperation thing that men look for in women takes a hit. And now it's like, damn, I don't want to commit to nothing. I get stuck with a kid. I get stuck with alimony. I get stuck with having to split my assets or child, you know, all these things. So it's really hard for men these days. And I don't agree with them as far as the part where it said we don't have anybody to go to if we leave or something like that. I think men do. I think we just have too much pride to where we don't want to go and talk to other men. I have so many men in my family, brothers and cousins and uncles, that have relationship issues, and I'll go post a video, and then I'll look up, and all of a sudden they're going through the shit that I just posted about, like what you probably shouldn't do, you know, based on your best interest. And I'm like, damn, man, if only you know, the people that's close to me would just come talk to me and ask questions, this shit wouldn't be happening. So it's kind of like a disappointment. We do have a circle of men. We do have people that we can go to. It's not just women. It's just men have a lot of pride. And I think it's a man thing. I think it's an ego thing that men carry with them. Like, oh, I can do this. I don't need to lean on another man, but we supposed to, you know, lean on brothers. That's why we have King Talk all the time. We supposed to lean on each other for advice when we have difficult issues, situations as far as relationships. It's supposed to be like a brotherhood. But that's when I really don't agree with what he said with that. I'm gonna let somebody else go. I don't want to be long with it.
All right. Cookie, I'm going to go to you next. In your opinion, what role do past relationships and family dynamics play in shaping men's attitude towards commitment?
Um, I'm gonna say that's a hard question for me to answer because I'm not a man. First, let me give that disclaimer. But I feel like I'm gonna roll a little bit with Bruiser here and say I feel like that dude made a very negative assumption about most men not having a community. I don't think that's the issue. I think it's what they fear what their community thinks when they go through things, and that keeps them from really pouring out into anybody. They be like, oh man, aha, she play, you know what I'm saying? Because I've got brothers. I've seen it. What was the first part of the question? I'm sorry.
In your opinion, what role do past relationships and family dynamics play in shaping a man's attitude toward?
Past relationships, even though men, not all of y'all, but it depends on the man and how he heals after the past relationship. If he a bad hopper, then he's gonna consistently have the problem. If he takes time to heal from the past relationship, I don't see there being a problem. But if he doesn't do that, like any other human being, he's gonna carry luggage with him that is going to reflect, and women are going to be paying for, and or a man that things that somebody else did to that person that aren't necessarily there. Yeah, so I think that relationships can be drug over into new past relationships can be drug over into new relationships if you do not recover like you need to, and that goes both ways. But since we're talking about men, I agree with that.
All right, Sweeney, same question. In your opinion, what role do past relationships and family dynamics play in shaping men's attitude towards commitment?
Shit. What role does past relationships play?
In your opinion, what role do past relationships and family dynamics play in shaping men's attitudes towards commitment?
All right, before I can answer that question, we have to define exactly what we mean by commitment. Because if a guy is with a woman for 5 years, is that not a commitment to whatever they have at that moment?
I would say yeah, but I think there's other things. I think there's layers to commitment. Like
Right.
you can be committed to being there, being present, but so you also got to be committed to some of the things y'all both value together, like being faithful in a relationship.
Fair. No, that's what I'm saying. It's like, okay,
I thought we were talking about commitment in terms of leading to marriage.
that's what I was going to ask. That's why I said we have to define what commitment is, because we're talking about a fear of commitment when in reality, I don't necessarily think it's based in fear. I think they're getting exactly what they want out the deal, and they don't want to go no further than that. So, for instance, you know what I mean? It's the same thing as like, how long can a woman keep a guy in the friend zone? She can keep a man in the friend zone for decades and never think twice about it, never feel bad about it, never feel anything towards it. But obviously he wants more out of that deal. And I think the same thing goes for these situations where we have people in relationships and she wants marriage out of the deal and he's perfectly fine where they at.
I don't think he's. Do you think it's fair to say that the woman is keeping the man in the friend zone? Because I would argue that the man is keeping himself in the friend zone. Because you don't have to be there.
I'm not trying to argue over the fairness or anything of it. I'm just looking at it as from the outside, like from a overhead perspective of you're okay with the situation that you're in, whether that other person likes it or not, or whether they're there or not. You're completely okay with the circumstances of y'all situation. And I'm looking at it from that perspective, is that he's completely okay with the circumstances. I'm cool with what we're doing right now. And what happens is that she wants more than that. And then we try to then she tries to explain the reason why he doesn't want it, even though to Shan's point, he's being perfectly clear with you what he wants. I'm cool where we at right now. And now she's saying, oh, that's a fear. You fear commitment. Am I not here? I'm here with you. I've been here with you for 5 to 10 years. You want marriage. I'm cool off that.
Yeah, now, but isn't it more to it than just because I think the ladies can attest that when a woman wants marriage and a man is like, okay, I don't want to get married. I'm cool with what we just doing right now.
Right.
There's some underlying factors that's causing him to be just content with just that level instead of moving to the next level.
If I would say that we were talking about commitment just based on using the context clues and the text in which they were talking about marriage because they brought up the he feared that he's going to lose half of everything if he ends up having to go to court, that, he can be with a chick for all of this amount of time and then 6 months later he married again. So I think in this context, they were talking about the fear of commitment at the level of being married.
I think, well, yeah, if that's the case, if we're going to talk about it in that way, why do men elect not to get married in these situations where they find themselves in long-term relationships? For the most part, the number one reason most guys say is because they don't want the government involved in their life. And they want the ability to be able to walk away free and clear without having to answer to I like Andrew Wilson to call it the adjudicator of the adjudicator of relationships. They don't want to have to answer to the state as to the reason why they broke up. They like, I want to break up. I want to be able to just walk away free and clear.
It's not just about breaking up either, man. It's women are not making it a requirement to get all of the wifey benefits. She can do that at a girlfriend level. Sometimes not even a girlfriend level, just somebody just to smash every now and then. These women are giving you that wifey benefit, and the men are not really compelled to even go that level unless they have to, because they still want to be able to have their cake and eat it. So that could be one of the reasons as well.
That's what I said. I was like, I don't think it's necessarily based in fear. I think it's why do I have to go that step further? And the step that I really don't care to take, which is I don't care to actually go and put my name on paperwork to say we're in a relationship. I don't have to do that. I'm giving you all the husband benefits you want, i.e., I'm taking care of you, I'm paying these bills, I'm doing XYZ, and you giving me everything I want. I don't have to go that far.
But if you look at it from the spiritual side, the man that when this could be a justified statement on fear of commitment. If you look at it from the spiritual side, as if, okay, if I get married to this woman, I know I'm not willing to be able to, practice discipline. And then, I'm gonna be living in sin and committing adultery. So now I got a fear of commitment. So maybe I don't want to, be a hypocrite or, willingly sin, you know what I'm saying? And maybe I just need to just not, go that far so I can protect my, what do you call it?
Say that one more time, hold on, one more time so I can make sure I understand what you were saying.
Now, I was saying, if you look at it from the spiritual side, some men may not want to get married because they still want to have that cake and eat it, and they still want to do what they want to do. They want to toe the line because they don't want to willingly sin. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to get into marriage and still be out here running the streets. You get what I'm saying? So like, I love God, you know what I'm saying? I love his word. So I'm not going to go in here. I'm not going to go into a marriage and just break vows, willingly and commit adultery.
But you're speaking for a man that actually has cheating on the mind. What about the ones that don't have cheating on the mind?
Well, he might not necessarily have cheating on the mind, but he's reserving the thought that, okay, like if I get tempted, I know that weakness area. It's a matter of time before, if I'm given a chance, opportunity at the right time, the right place, right situation, I just might do it. And I don't want to go into a marriage like that. So now I got a fear of getting into commitment. And that takes a lot of humbleness and knowing yourself as a man and knowing your weaknesses and your strengths to be able to make that decision that, okay, look, I'm not going to pull this woman into a marriage knowing that I can't live up to my word as far as being sexually disciplined. And I think the women on here can attest to that, because there's a lot of guys that get in a marriage and cheat on their wives.
Wouldn't that go against?
And they go to church every Sunday. And so I'm just saying that I'm just trying to play devil's advocate on how men who fear commitment could be justified, a justified statement. I think that it actually can. If you really don't, looking at it from the spiritual side, if you really don't want to sin willingly, you know what I'm saying, knowing that it's sin and continue to lay in your sins, you might not want to take that step, because they actually how do you keep praying for help and stuff, and you're just sinning anyway. You know what I'm saying? And praying to God, simultaneously is hypocrisy. You know what I mean?
But wouldn't that manifest itself across his life, not just when it comes to marriage? Somebody that's that hell bent on, like they're that hell bent on not committing sin. Wouldn't that manifest itself in other ways?
In what way?
If somebody's that spiritual, I would expect them to damn near follow the Bible to a T. Or are you saying that wouldn't they, a person that would do that kind of position themselves to sin in other ways, that to absolve themselves of responsibility?
I mean, you can sin in other ways, but it won't be intentionally sinning. Like knowing it's okay, I know that this is sin, I'm gonna do it because it feels good, versus, oh shit, man, I sinned, I made a mistake. There's a difference.
So I know that
nobody's perfect. You know what I mean?
And there's somebody that forward thinking about the avoiding marriage because they know I'm going to sin. Wouldn't that manifest itself in other areas of their lives?
Yeah, it would, but doing it with somebody else, you involving somebody else in your sins. Now,
But being a man
now it's
whore
not
is
only
a
you that's
sin.
taking a hit; it's another
What
person,
are we
another
talking
soul.
about? He can't avoid sinning if you want to bed hop. Bed hopping is a sin. What y'all talking about?
I mean,
How
y'all,
about
you
some
saying
men don't want to commit because they don't want to? Like literally, they just don't want to, just like some women don't. There are actually people out there that don't want to commit. But as far as all this sinning and stuff goes, oh, I don't want to cheat in marriage, so I'm not gonna commit. I'm just gonna be a whore outside of marriage, and that's okay with God. It's not. That's not how that works. Y'all do know that, right?
I know that. That's why I asked the question. Where does that? How does that manifest itself in other ways? Because somebody who's that hell bent on not getting married because they're afraid to sin, or they make decisions based around the fact that they know they're going to sin, they would do that in other areas. Like they won't actively participate in church, or they might not actively. I don't know. I don't even know
But
how.
I don't think you shouldn't actively participate in church and try to walk the walk. If you know you're gonna sin, you would kind of do that so you can try to figure out ways to repent and not sin by
A man that ain't
joining
gonna
a church
sin is gonna be
community.
celibate and wait for marriage.
No, what he's saying is the reason why they don't commit is because they know they're gonna sin, right? So he's saying, okay, a man won't
They know
commit.
they're gonna betray their
They know
partner.
they're gonna betray. They know they're gonna sin.
He betraying
By
everybody.
the
If
way,
he
this is from a spiritual, like, because you said you using this from a spiritual standpoint, not from the partner standpoint.
Right.
You said their commitment to God. They know that if I sin, I get in trouble with God. This ain't about the partner. So they say, I'm not going to get married because I know I'm going to sin and I'm not trying to get in trouble with God. Well, if that's the case, then he will have that mindset in everything that he does.
Correct.
I want you guys to hold that thought. Let me get Hink, Jay, and Luis in there, and then we can go ahead and finish. Hink, I know you heard the gentleman going back and forth. Did you want to respond to anything they saying, or you just want to keep it moving?
No, I didn't want to respond under that bullshit because I don't give a shit. So let's talk about why men ain't are afraid of commitment. Well, I don't think most men are afraid to commit to anything. I think they might. The fear of the marriage part is fear of the results of what could happen if shit goes left. That's what I think they're fear of. I don't think it's fear of commitment because, look, a man's committed till he can't. Until he can't. He'll stay in the situation, and even though, like I think Shannon was saying it, even though he shouldn't, he'll stick his shit out for no reason. I don't know why. He'll accept the mental, emotional abuse from a woman. Why? Because he wants to make right with their kids. Don't want to leave them kids behind. You know, really feels like he could probably, hopefully, change this woman or change her mind or maybe her mindset. He's committed to because maybe he doesn't want to see and go through what maybe his parents went through with divorce. So there's a lot of things, reason why a man may even supposedly fear a commitment, but I think it's more so worried about the consequences of committing to a woman as far as marriage. So I'll leave it there.
All right. I'm going to go to Jay. How do societal norms and cultural expectations influence men's perceptions of commitment?
I think in the initial thing you made reference to past relationships or past experiences.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it helps you to identify, red flags on things that, okay, I don't want this moving forward. So if you don't see those things, so you'll wait around to see a person in certain predicaments so you can identify how they'll react or how they'll carry it, how they'll carry themselves in, weathering storms, because it is going to come, but I mean, ultimately in terms of commitment, I mean, I feel like God is a comedian, man. You ever notice when you single, your line is dry, you get into a relationship with something you need. And then while you're in that relationship with something you need, God will beat you over the head with everything you wanted. You know what I'm saying? You in the supermarket, you at the pharmacy, everybody's popping up, smiling at you, looking, giving you the go ahead, but he gave you what you need. You in a relationship with the person that you need, but everything that you've wanted is just knocking your door down. So you have to make those decisions. It's a test, and it's a constant test. So depending on what stage of your life that you're in, you know, because there's a stage in your life where you're going to make all the mistakes in the world. You're going to tear some shit up, make some people hate you. You're going to be the bad guy. You know, I'm sure everybody up here has been the bad guy to somebody, you know. So depending on what stage of life you're in. And I think another thing, fear of failure. You know, some of us get in a relationship, realize we have somebody that we can see ourselves married to, that we do. You know, if you're serious, you've processed it in your head. Like, yeah, I can see myself with this person. But then now it's, you know, you kind of talking yourself out of it. Well, what ifs, all these what ifs. So, you know, we don't want to fail, especially with something that we shouldn't fail with. You know, like if it's somebody that everybody is clearly telling you, though, I don't know about that. You know, if you fail with that, then it's like it was expected. But if it's something that was like handcrafted for you and you fuck it up, I mean, that's, you know, a heavy burden to carry, because then it's all on you. Why'd you mess that up? You know, so I think it's a myriad of reasons why we fear. It just depends on your maturity and the stage of your life. What Bruiser was saying about support system of men, you know, I think that's another thing that's based on maturity too. You know, when you're young, you keep things in. You don't disclose everything. You know, you make everything appear like it's on the up and up with your circle. But as you get older and you disclose a lot, you know, and some people, I remember I had a bad situation, you know, and you know, my homeboy, who he has things in order, and at the exact time where I say I needed a good pep talk, he gave me a story about one of his failures with a woman, and that shit had me crying, laughing. But you know, for the longest, he's just holding that in. You know, he's not telling me because he want to maintain his frame. Like, yeah, that shit, I don't play that shit. But he told me, and with that specific person telling me that story was exactly what I needed, and that's when I knew we were maturing, because we were able to disclose things that, you know what I'm saying, maybe insecurities there. You know, so it depends on the maturity of your circle, because I too have told people that have good women, like, nigga, it is nothing out here, bro. You got a good person right there. I know that because she hit me up when she want to do surprises for him. Like, it's different. You know, I want to do this for him. I want to do that for him. You know, hit me. This person's different. So you need to hold on. I know everything look good out there. Hold on, bro. That's why I say I think it's the stage of your life you in.
That's real, Jay. Go ahead, Dar. You want to say something?
I was gonna say, I get the part about God being a comedian, but I'm just not sure I agree with the part where when you get what you need, God sent all these, I think, what do you call it? Temptations, so to speak.
I agree.
I don't think that's God. I would argue that might be the devil doing that.
So you don't think God's a comedian?
I mean, I don't really look at him as a comedian, you know what I'm saying? But using the reference you gave, I don't think that's funny. Having everything you need and all these temptation coming, I don't think that's. I mean, a comedian is somebody I would laugh at, but I don't think it's funny. I think that's living miserably, man. Like, you got everything you need and all this shit coming that you want. Especially given you don't even know how to use your discernment to make the right judgment. I don't think there's nothing funny about that.
But I think the level of maturity you have, you'll know whether it's a test or not. You know, when you're younger, you may fail when you're less informed. But I think whether it's God or the devil, you understand that you have what you need.
Okay, I agree with
think it's
that. But
neither.
I believe that God may be using the devil to test his saints, maybe in a way. He allow the devil to test his saints, maybe. I mean, I think we got our own will, and the devil has his play in it, and God has his play in it, and it's all up to us to choose, you know, which route we want to take. And I think the things that we want that might not necessarily, I don't know if you put a disclaimer on that, whether it was good, those things that we want are good or bad. Those things could be bad, And if they are bad, I would say that that's the devil just throwing darts at you to see if he can hit you.
No, you know what? I have to say something about that. I think it's neither. No disrespect to either of you, and I'm gonna try to give y'all a situation. It's kind of like I never eat until noon. I eat between noon and 7 every day, right? But the day I say I'm not gonna eat at all, I've trained my body. I don't get hungry till about noon. And I'm gonna fast for like 48 hours. As soon as I wake up, I'm dying hungry. You know what I mean? So I think everything that y'all are, well, everything that you were talking about, seeing stuff in the store, I think that's all on you. I think that's a mental aspect. I don't think it's the God or the devil. I just think it's you being in a committed relationship, and now that you noticing a lot more things you probably didn't notice when the world was your oyster, was your stage, and you could do whatever you want. Now that you on lockdown, quote unquote, or in a relationship or in a commitment, these people seem more tempting to you. Like food is more tempting on a fast. So I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's either the God or the devil. I think we as human beings just trip up our own selves.
Okay.
If a
Go ahead.
if a man and a woman are together for 15 to 20 years and they never get married, is that not a commitment?
I don't see anything wrong with that if they don't if neither one of them is pressing marriage.
You said if they were together for 10 or 15 years, what'd you say?
15, 20 years, but they never got married. Is that not a commitment?
I mean, between themselves, they could think of it as a commitment. But if you have any spiritual values, then no, that don't count.
Well,
You got to be married.
let's assume that they're secular.
Huh?
Let's assume that they're secular. Like they don't actually abide by any like religion. They're more, but
sexless for 15 years?
Oh, secular.
Oh.
I would say it depends on if both of them are on the same page with that, because there's a difference between one person wanting more and wanting marriage, whether it's a man or woman, and the other one not wanting it, but still willing to stay. So I wouldn't think it would be a full commitment. I think it would be a one-sided commitment in that regard. Just because I want to get married, but you don't, but I don't want to risk losing you at all. So I just stay for the sake of not having to not have you.
So, all right. So in this scenario, right? Let's take that both of them wanted out of it, right? He doesn't want to get married. She does. They've been together for 20 years.
She's an idiot.
Yeah, she's an idiot because if she's supposed to be a submissive wife, you're supposed to submit to a man who submits to God. And if a man ain't marrying a woman and he's been with her for that long, that means he don't follow God's word, which means he's not submitting to God. Because if you're gonna submit to God, you're gonna at least be trying to follow his will and walk in his way. Therefore, your wife will follow behind you and submit to you. So that means he's in a relationship with a woman that can choose or decide whether or not she wants to submit to you, and she'll be justified because you're not submitting to God.
Let's assume that she does submit to him wholeheartedly.
And then she'll fool. She's a fool for submitting to a man that's not submitting to God.
But
that's my argument against a lot of men who want to go in a relationship. She need to be submissive. You're not even submitting to God. How can you?
But marriage isn't. I mean, I get that marriage is a spiritual thing, but obviously in this country, we pulled the spirituality out of marriage. It's not something that you need God to do anymore.
But didn't submission come from the Bible, though?
It's a spiritual thing. So if you call yourself not being spiritual and still trying to force submission, it's a contradiction.
Well, the thing is that while we're saying that submission came from the Bible, it's still a definition. It still means
it's a definition, but it was something that God gave to man and women. It wasn't intended for to regular folk to use.
Well, the thing is that
that's called slavery.
The thing, well, no, you can't say that that's slavery.
If it's not used in a spiritual way, that is used. It's not used in a slave, an indentured servant type.
What are you talking
about? So what I'm
saying is, look at it. So Sweeney, with your scenario,
you right, Bruce.
Why would a woman stay with a man for 15 years and she wanted to get married? If she had any common sense about her ass, if she realized within the first year or two he's not trying to get married, she should have left him then. It should have been 15 years down the road. Now all of a sudden I'm ready to pack my shit up and get the fuck out. She should have did that 14 years ago. You said what, brother?
I wanted y'all to let me finish my question before y'all started answering. Y'all just jumped on that.
I thought you was finished because you and Bruiser keep going back at each other, man.
Because he kept jumping in before I could finish the question. I was trying to give y'all the context, and y'all just jumped on there like.
All right, go ahead so we get everybody else involved. Go ahead and finish this, Wayne.
All right, so we have let's assume that she wants marriage out of the deal, but he doesn't. He's cool where they are. They've been together for 15 to 20 years. How is it that then the fear of commitment, or that why do we put the fear of commitment on him rather than her lack of an ability to demand or walk away from a situation where she's not being fully satisfied? Why are we talking about the man rather than her? Why would we talk about the man?
Because a man
controls marriage. If she wants marriage and he doesn't want marriage, there's a reason why he doesn't want it. Maybe because he's scared of marriage. He's scared of that part of the commitment. He's committed to the relationship, but he's not committed to marriage. If that's what she requires, then that's what she requires. But does she really require it? Because she shouldn't have been in that situation that long if she really required. She's saying that just because she seeing everybody else get married and she's not getting that, but she wants it. If you really want with that, you'll tell that man that from the giddy up. That should have been some of the hard, tough questions you had during the vetting process. Instead, you didn't say anything. You let 5 years go down the road. Then you probably start talking about it, thinking about it. Then you wait 10 to 15. Now you say, I want to do it. It's too late now. His mindset, you fucked. You might as well just remain common law marriage if they recognize that. I don't know if they still recognize it. That's pretty much what you are now.
And that's actually the crux of my question is that why are we talking about him instead of her?
Because man controls who get in a relationship. Just like if we were talking about, okay, why not having sex? If a woman says no, you can't have sex with her. She controls.
Because JR picked the topic.
But no. But if a man came up and told us,
context of the video, so that's why we're discussing.
No, I get that. I'm talking about as overall. I'm not saying why are we talking about him in this particular. Obviously, we're talking about him, but what I'm saying is because if a guy came to us and told us, "Hey, I want to be with that woman. I want to have sex with her, but she's not giving up the draws." Well, we sit there and look at the woman and say, "Why do you fear giving up the draws to this man?" We look at the man and say, "Okay, so what's going on? Why can't you get the draws? Let's talk about what problems that you may be having, or maybe you should stop doing all these things for this woman that's not giving you anything in return." We wouldn't look at the woman and say and try to dissect the reason why she's not giving it up. We would.
You would have to, because it would be a reason why she's. I mean, it could be she's a virgin. I mean, it's so many reasons why a woman wouldn't give you sex. It's not just it's you would do that.
See, Sweeney tried to be disingenuous by phrasing a question like that, but you didn't take into account that when a man says no to marriage,
you said a woman, just not his wife, a woman, just a woman, right?
Yeah, but it could. But see the layers he removed from this question. Because on the flip side, for the man, they're cohabitating, right? Of course, we're gonna ask a woman why she's not having sex if you're cohabitating with this man. So yes, it would be a problem. We would say, okay, why you don't have sex with this man? Or yeah, why do you want to have sex? He's paying all your bills. Y'all cohabitating, y'all living together. Yeah, we would ask the question. It would be a problem. But see, he thought that he could just ask that question without considering the fact that they would
get the fuck out.
Yeah, exactly. We would have a problem with the woman. So yeah, that's the answer to your question, Sweeney.
No, I don't have a problem here. Why he's saying she's not giving no ass? She ain't my goddamn wife. Why are you paying your goddamn bill?
We really would not hold that woman accountable if she didn't want to give.
Yeah, we would. If a man is paying the bills and they're cohabitating, we will hold her accountable for not having sex with that man.
So
are you saying us as men, or are you saying society at large?
Men, women don't matter.
All right, y'all. We got to get some other people in there. Let's go to Get Mistaken, and then let's go to Louise and balance.
I lost which question we're answering at this point. So can
I'm gonna ask you this question. What do you believe are the primary reasons behind men's fear of commitment in modern dating?
I would say fear typically always stems from yourself, but a lot of times we project it on other people. So I think with men, the reason they fear the commitment is based on their life experiences, whether what they saw when they grew up, and it may not have been a good example of a relationship. So now they've identified that to say, I don't want that to happen to me. So they are more protective of trying to engage in a relationship with somebody else. Or it may be that they've had their own personal experience in a relationship that did not go well. And so then they have a tendency, like most people do, to carry that negative aspect of what happened in that relationship, because typically we blow up the negative and not necessarily, and we kind of minimize the good things. And so when we're carrying around that negative experience, then we're going to apply that to a lot of times to every relationship that we're in, to a degree. So I think that's why they fear it. They fear that the relationship itself won't be successful. So if I never put 100% in the game, then I can't get hurt. So that's kind of why I think that they fear the relationship.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Luis, are there common misconceptions about men and commitment that you like to debunk?
Yeah, I would like to actually have a list of things that I would like to kind of debunk. First and foremost, excuse my hoarse voice at the moment. Men are exposed to commitment from a very young age. We have to really remind ourselves and think back on our childhood and the things that we've seen, experienced, and the things that we've grown into, especially going and ushering into adulthood. You know, we've been exposed to commitment in the sense of friends when we were young, right? Sports, hobbies and interests, work. Men are committed to routine. Every young man needs a routine, a constant routine. Work, school, work out, read, etc. You know what I'm saying? Routine is something that you should be committed to. Young men have to be committed to, because that right there is what allows you to, bear the most fruit out of your results. If he's religious or spiritual, there is a commitment to faith. I would argue that, if that man has a deep seated root in his faith, there is a level of commitment with him and God. I believe what has happened is that commitment nowadays in our popular culture society is tied too often to happiness, right? And some people will forego their commitment in order to chase the pursuit of happiness. And that right there creates a very turmoil dichotomy for both parties, not only for men in their future, but also for the women who receive sort of the back end of what these men's shortcomings have become. Commitment starts at the home. You know, I think fear is a roadblock, or better yet, a seed that has been planted by outside forces to create doubt in your mind. That's what I believe what has happened. You know, um, Men are generally much more willing to go skydiving, do more crazy things, and are more risk avert, right? I think that when we talk about this in the sense of commitment, we have to also play in mind is that men are not fearful of commitment. They're just more, they're a little bit more cautious in terms of who they get the commitment to, right? You rather just get it right the first time and obviously learn along the way. But I think that commitment tends to kind of be, small stepping stones. And we have these conversations about how people come together, how they meet, and then where they at. And we forget all the important journey in the middle of understanding that development. You're committed to the consistency. You're committed to the person. You're committed to what you say that you are. You got to stand on business about who you are. And that right there is a form of commitment as well. And I would say, lastly, There's nothing to fear but fear itself. I think far too often we tend to allow little things to kind of cloud our decision making. But when you spend enough time by yourself, you can understand clearly what are the things that you ought to be committing to and what things you should be allowing to fall by the wayside. So that's all I got.
Okay.
That was well said, Luis. I agree with everything you just said. The only thing I would really add is that a lot of men may not have seen successful marriages. So that's fear too. If you haven't seen other people successfully do something, you're like, maybe I can't do this. I don't see any examples of this going well. That's fear. That's all I want to add, but I like everything you just said.
All right. Before I move on, anybody want to say anything?
And just to piggyback off of her was saying, that's the reason why it's more important to be spiritually connected with your woman, because if you basing off all of your movement, or whether you want to decide on whether you want to commit based on evidence or having some representation or seeing it through other people, and if you don't have that luxury of being able to see it through other people, just living in the word and being spiritually, driven in your life, you will see that the scriptures and the word are telling you to get married, and there's there's scriptures that can help you and guide you through marriage if you find somebody that's equally yoked. And you don't really got to lean on seeing it successfully done. You just got to have faith and pray and just trust that God gonna guide you and your wife through.
Do y'all think how does I'm trying to look at this from a different perspective. Is it possible to get married without the state? Without state involvement?
It would depend on if you want it recognized or not. If you don't care about it being recognized, then I guess technically you can get married without the state, because in other countries that's what they do, right? So, or when we think about slavery, I mean, they didn't recognize our marriages at that point, but we still were married. So technically you can get married. It's more so about whether or not you want it recognized.
In Texas, you married after living together for 6 months.
So if you're with someone and they say that, why won't you commit to me? I want to marry you. And he says, okay, well, we can go and get married without the state. Should she be willing to accept that and accept it as him being committed?
I said this on the show before and got talked bad too. I like this question. Y'all can answer it. I'm gonna see what y'all say.
Go ahead, Shan.
I personally don't see a problem with it. Especially like, I know different states have different laws, like she just stated, but as long as it's treated like that, like the problem is you can say you're married and then you end up treating it like you're dating. Like once the going gets tough, you run out like you are dating. You don't try to work it out. It's just an easy way out. And that's the biggest problem with that. You got to really trust the other person and they have to trust you. So I would say it can with the right two people. But I think the Bible always also says, obey the law of the land. So you want to make sure that you're doing just that as well, if you're going to be biblical with it. So, yeah, I think it can work. The problem is just if you got a funny acting, fickle mate, you might not want to trust that.
So technically, the only form of actual real commitment is if you involve the state.
No, I wouldn't say that per se. I mean, it just all depends on how you was brought up and what you believe in. I think that if you introduce that, if you have a conversation, let's just say at dinner, Starbucks with Hink, and then you're asking about like your beliefs and your values, and if they disclose that they don't believe in marriage, and I think you have an idea what you're getting yourself into. Now, if a man was to spring that along, maybe like 2 or 3 years into the relationship without having any discussion surrounding that, then I can see where somebody might be like, what are you talking about? Because I don't 100% know, because I haven't done any surveys, but I would think, at least within my circle of people, that most people look at marriage that you're officially married when the state is involved. I know very few people that look at it based off just religion or we have a ceremony that doesn't involve the state. This is something that I'm starting to hear a lot more often just because we are able to have these conversations via YouTube and Instagram, Clubhouse, and so forth. So I think it wouldn't be a problem if they had a conversation beforehand, but I would see it being a problem if it just comes out of nowhere and nobody knows what type of page the other person is on when it comes to marriage.
Right.
Well, JR, not for nothing. A lot of people talk about not involving the state and stuff like that, but most people who are getting married are common day folks. They ain't got a whole lot. They ain't got millions and they're inheriting all this stuff. Like people literally have, a decent life, a decent break point. They're not coming to this relationship with like millions of dollars in the bank. You know what I'm saying? Or a crazy estate. We're talking about that based on the minority of people who are in a smaller bracket that we tend not to see very often that have those business-like conversations about marriage and prenups and all these other things. Not saying that other people shouldn't engage in those things, in those practices, but we talk about it as if it's the gospel and the standard across the board. That's not true. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people are more worried about losing things that they don't have than worrying about losing the person that they have, that they could have for the long haul and do this thing called life. You know what I'm saying? And one last thing I'm going to make, because this is something that was brought up last week. So there was an op-ed article in the UK that came out this week talking about that 2/3 of women between the ages of 18 and 45 are the loneliest they've ever seen on record. And there's a huge complaint about it. You know what I'm saying? We're slowly starting to see this become a very more prominent issue in our society. Not only across the pond, but soon enough here in the States. And regardless of how you cut it, I think that it might get to a point where they might actually make common law more common, or they're going to find a way to finagle, because that right there becomes also a tax burden or a societal halt issue as well. And sort of they're always going to try to find some sort of way to navigate and fix the issue, which really is just people need to fix themselves. Other people don't need to be involved. That's all I got.
Yeah, and before we move on, that's excellent question, Sweeney. But I'm really proud of when we had these conversations because I don't think any one of us would have been privy to a lot of this, to like a lot of this dialogue that's happening right now. Because even when you think how we was programmed to think that we had to go to college in order to survive, now I'm hearing so many discussions that's saying that maybe college may not be the way. Even when we talk about these, when we have marriage and we involve the state, I think Luis made a good point where we have to start looking at ourselves because we depend so much on the state to be able to make the decisions as far as what we do when it comes to our marriage. So I'm all for having these conversations because at least it gets our mind spinning to decide what it is that we want to do when it comes to our commitment and how our marriage is going to look within ourselves.
I'll say this one thing too, JR. When people file, women might file for divorce at a high rate or whatnot, but households that make 250,000 and up have an 18% or less of divorce compared to people outside of that threshold. So what does that tell you all? People with more money have more reasons to stay together, right? We keep having the conversation circling around certain money and certain things, but in reality, what we're talking about is not so much the money, it's the quality of life and how you frame and structure that around your marriage for you.
I was gonna say too, to what you were saying is the higher, up the socioeconomic status, a lot of times the marriages are better, right? In terms of lasting. Not saying that they don't get divorced, but they divorce at a lower rate. But also, I have read information too that stated that typically a higher education level as well, there's a correlation between divorce and less, and the education level. But what I was initially going to say about this idea of saying we don't need a paper to basically say to confirm our commitment. If we're going to commit, we can do it, without involving anybody else. But to me, and this is just my perspective, is I think it is along the lines of the same. If you got the piece of paper, is the fear. I think it's the fear of failure in the marriage. So if I don't jump all the way in, then I don't have to deal with the consequences that comes along with a failed marriage, right? And my take on that is, if you don't need a piece of paper, or the paper isn't that big of a deal for you, then the question is that if you know it's that big of a deal for her, then why not do it? Because that's not going to change your perception about the paper one way or the other. But for her, it would. So I don't understand why that would even matter. And it's the same thing. It's the same thing like a prenup, right? People will say, "Oh, if she doesn't sign a prenup, then that means she with him for the wrong reasons or whatever." So my take has always been, if any woman gets married and a man presents her with a prenup, I don't see what the big deal is for her to sign it, because the only way that the prenup matters is if you intend on divorcing. If you divorce. So as long as I stay in the marriage, and the marriage is, worth it, then the whole idea of the prenup doesn't even come to fruition. So I think it's the same thing about like with marriage. If you go ahead and get the license, right, and your intent is to stay together forever, then you'll do whatever it is to try to make the marriage work. So you will never have to reap the consequences of what a divorce could bring. So that's kind of my own philosophy. So right now I'm not concerned, and that's not to say that I won't ever end up in a divorce. I can't control what my husband feels or thinks in terms of his marriage, just like he can't control what I feel or think in regards. So we can't control whether or not somebody's going to file. But I think if both of you are on the same mindset of this is truly until death do us part, that you're going to jump through the hoops, you're going to go to therapy, you're going to make adjustments, you're going to, sacrifice certain things in order to keep it together.
I had a
So if
question
you're
for
willing
you.
to do all of those things, then all of the paper talk is null and void.
I have a question for you. You said that the purpose of a man getting you to sign a woman to sign a prenup is if he intends to divorce her. Because wouldn't
I said for her, if he presents her with one and she doesn't want to, is always seen as she's just with you for your money, right? A lot of
no,
times no, I'm saying this is the perception, is that if a woman doesn't necessarily want to sign the prenup, then the perception is she's just with him for his money. What my
no.
take on it was, I was saying, if you offer the prenup, go ahead and sign. What's the big deal? If it's a lifelong commitment, the prenup will never come into play.
Can I speak?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
First of all, a prenuptial agreement is not necessarily a negative. It could benefit both parties. In the case of somebody falling and bumping their head, I don't think any woman should go ahead and sign anything without reading it and have somebody else read it for her twice. She might be giving away her soul, even though she probably should if that's the man she gonna marry, not her whole soul, but at least her body. Um, Prenups aren't bad, but I don't think anybody should just sign anything. And that's one of my biggest things with the state. I don't think you should just sign anything. But I get what you're saying. I don't think the intentions are bad, but if the prenuptial agreement doesn't benefit her at all, then she's a fool for signing that.
So why
Because
would
if it's prenup, like, you get nothing, absolutely nothing, no matter what I do, don't sign that, sis. That man not for you. He planning on cheating. Go on, get up out of there. That's all I'm saying.
So why do
Can we
y'all
get balance in there real quick, yo? And then we can knock this out, yo.
Yeah, let's we got to kind of wrap this up because let's get Sam on there and see if Hank want to close us out.
You said me?
Yeah, I know you had your hand up. Bless you.
Yeah, I just this is the only thing. If you guys don't want marriage, that's fine. But you cannot argue about the birth rates being out of wedlock. Because guess what? If you don't marry her legally, it's gonna increase the out of wedlock rates. All that stuff that y'all complain about with the stats and stuff, you gotta throw that out the window, right? Because there's women right now having kids by a man she lives with, and in a committed relationship without the legal documents, and that's the rates going up. So that's all I want to say. If you're going to knock it push it to the side, all of it got to be pushed to the side.
Well, sometimes she don't want to be married either.
That's true, but I'm just saying.
So we can still make the argument about birth out of wedlock.
Well, and if you look at that,
hold on, we got to get to Hank to close us out on this one. Go ahead, Hank.
God, damn, we beat this horse to death.
I think it's
Look, man. I look at it like this. If you with a man and you know he doesn't want to marry or get married, then get out. Get the fuck out, ladies. I mean, why waste your time? Why waste your energy? And find you a man who's looking for the same thing. Has nothing to do with whatever religion, whatever belief it is. If you want marriage, find a man who that's what he wants. And that's what he's willing to give you. If you got a woman who's not willing and looking to have kids and you want kids, don't get with that woman. She don't want kids. She's not trying to give you any kids. Don't get with her. Don't get lost in the exterior, all that good looking stuff. Don't get lost in it. Because she's not willing to give you what you're looking for the most, and those are kids. Don't get with her.
All right. But balance? Anything? Okay. I think she good, Jay. Guys, just tuning in. Welcome to Lapeef-ing Sunday. Let's make sure we hit that like button. Also, make sure we subscribe to the channel. Going through these super chats real quick, dedicated to my children's future. Again, give their 5 Lapeef Network memberships before the show started. Salute to you. Juicy Work, 199 says, shout out to the brothers on the panel. Harrison Davis says, salute to 499. KP says, afternoon panel bruiser, you have a red job.
Joe.
They said, I
What does
think
that
you
mean?
Joe.
What does
Joe,
that mean?
if you read Joe.
Have you read Joe? Have you read Joe?
Okay, I must have read that wrong. Ali, 1999. Brother, stand on your nuts. Why should a man get married today when he can get a cook, cleaner, sex, relationship, hoes, kids, basically everything a marriage entails without getting married to use ungrateful women?
Well, that's assuming that all of the women that we want to marry is using some ungrateful, and we don't all agree that all women fit that category.
I knew that was Ali.
And can I point out too, this is exactly what women say that men want, why they don't want to be married, because he just pointed it out and said, why get married when you can get a cook, get a cleaner, get this, get that. And that's
Sex.
why
He said sex too. So you can live unclean and you can live unrighteously and not have to get
exactly
married.
why women are saying, what's the point too? Because he only wants me for these things, and I'm a wife.
And she's willing to give them too.
Yeah.
Why
Like
do
he said, just
You
get out.
basing it off of one man's opinion, mistaken? That's one goddamn man's opinion. That's not every man.
No, it's not. Of course I'm not, because I'm not in that situation. I have a husband that doesn't treat me like that. So I know there's other men out there that don't do that. You're right. It's his opinion.
Girl, Ali trolling. Let that man make it. Whatever he is.
All right, I'm gonna get to you, sweetheart. Let me just get through this real quick. KP, $2. Funny how people pick the gospel when convenient. Ali again, 1999 says, brothers, sisters, breaking y'all down. We men, y'all playing both sides to look good to men and women. Y'all tell brothers marriage is a huge risk today. That hurts men. Then shame women for not making men marry them. KP again, $2 says it's a problem when Christian views trump everything. Ali again, 1999 says, if that man taking care of his business and that woman following, that's a healthy relationship with or without the title. A man gets married when he sees it as a benefit. Don't tell women to let go of a good man if he sees a risk. Chad Pool 199 says, TBH, having a baby is a marriage commitment, 18 years. KP, again, $2 says a piece of paper doesn't change one's commitment. We got Scorched Earth, 824. Remember, for 17 months, salute to you. Obeying the law of the land is a slippery slope. It can override God's word. If so, why marry people divorcing over how you say that word?
Irreconcilable
Differences. I thought, man, I went to public school. 999. Women and kids are for men. The data shows that marriage is for women who earn, not change, compromise men. You earn and work for great men like job, career, cat, dog, and kids, not obligated to a man. Enter the Black Dragon, $2 says a marriage is a business contract between two people. KP again says the mistaken just say if it's what she wants. Scorched Earth, $10 marriage is not or should it ever be a contract. It was and always been a covenant between a man and woman and God. Problem is folks no longer honor or respect the institution of a godly marriage. And lastly, Enter the Black Dragon, $10 says a woman measures a man by his money first and his character second. For men, the women you are supposed to marry, you've known for decades. She knows and accepts you 100% and never cared about your money because you are her man. I want to thank everybody that's contributed to the platform. Thus far, hit the like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Lapeef said I skipped one of your super chats. Which one did I skip? Let me know which one I skipped and I'll get back to it. I don't know which one I skipped. Do y'all see which one I skipped?
Something about if women can get a divorce. That's what he's saying.
If women can get a divorce.
Because my question is, why do women want to get married in general?
Okay, I just didn't want to.
You asking men or you asking the women?
I was trying to wait to see if anybody.
Right here. This one. Was it this one?
I think so. Yeah.
I think so.
If a woman can divorce when they want, men can marry when he wants. We the leaders don't let women or society manipulate brothers to make bad decisions when they see red flags in women or society. Get a good man and shut up.
So to answer your question, Sweeney,
Ali, you shut up. I'm tired of him.
For me, the first reason was that was the way that I was brought up in terms of a Christian household. So, and I wanted seeing the way that my grandparents' marriage was. They were a great example. I had an example of my parents, but I knew I didn't want my marriage to emulate theirs. But for my upbringing, that was what I knew I was going to do. That was a standard expectation. So for religious reasons, I would say one. The other thing is for security, in terms of I knew I didn't want to be a single parent. I wanted to give my children the best possible example and start in life, because there's a benefit to being married when it comes to having children. The third thing was I loved my husband, and to me, the greatest outward expression is to get married, to let others know that this is who I chose to be with for the rest of my life as well.
Okay. And I know that you were speaking for yourself, but I wanted you to answer it for women in general. Take yourself out of it.
I would think that would be pretty much universal. I think. I don't know.
Yeah, I think most women probably align themselves with the way mistaken. Granted, if you think all women in general think the same and come from the same religious background or upbringing, but for the most part in America, traditionally, that's what reason why women would get married.
Well, I think she did say one thing right. I don't think most people marry for the religious reasons. I don't think most people, because if that was the case, then there's a lot more things that they would be do religious based. I think most people, for her second reason and her third reason, were actually the main reasons. Well, let me let Shan answer it first, and then I go on my.
Well, I'm glad. No, because mine was a part of yours. So I do think that people want to be married because if you are religious in some type of way, meaning you may not be fully like acting on it, but it's almost like sinning. You don't want to sin, you just do, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna get right. How many times have you prayed to God like, hey, repent, right? So I think it has to do with religion, even though you see it every day in the back of your head, you're like, dang, I don't want to sin for the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying? So I do think that people do want to marry for religious reasons, even though they may not be like super religious at the moment, if they are under, if they follow the Bible or they follow a certain religion. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay, so to understand why a woman wants to get married will help you understand why men avoid marriage. I think most women decide to get married for commitment. I mean, not for commitment, but for security.
For sure.
That's probably their more than 80. I think that's probably the biggest thing on the table is the security of marriage. But if you understand that, then you also understand why men avoid marriage for security. The security of not risking. So I don't want the same reason why a woman will want to get married. I want the security that if I leave or if something breaks down, there's things that are put in place that safeguards. If you be honest,
you said risking.
It's like about financial
balance. Let's get balance. Want to say something? Nothing. Okay.
Hold on. Wait. See, I think we always get caught up on the finances more so than we get caught up on the. There's a reality that most women find that that marriage is something that allows them to be able to be protected in case something happens. And I think that's what men are also protecting themselves from when they say, I don't want to commit to this because just in case this happens. So women get married under the security of they're secure in case shit goes wrong. And men don't want to get married because they feel like they're secure in case shit goes wrong. In case something goes wrong, I don't have to deal with the consequences of that. And women get married and women say, I want marriage because just in case shit goes wrong, there's consequences that I don't want to face. If I didn't marry this guy, I won't get this, and this. So I want the commitment, therefore I'm protected. And men don't want to get married because they feel protected outside of marriage. Women feel protected inside of marriage, men feel protected outside of it.
I agree with him.
Yeah, but with the security, I think mistake is with the security mistake. I think talk about. I don't think I don't know. Are you talking about financial security? Are you talking about?
Absolutely not. And when we look at the stats in terms of finances, men and women,
what are you talking about?
I just said I said it don't always have to be finances.
I
said women get married because they feel secure within a marriage. Men opt out of marriage or choose not to because they feel secure outside of marriage.
He want to be able to walk away from his family when he wants to. He don't want no type of security. He don't want to have to. He does not want to be the man of his household. He want to leave her and them kids high and dry. He don't want no responsibility.
He's not saying that it's right.
That's secure. Security is
right,
saying,
but he's not wrong either.
Right. Security is.
Oh yeah, he wrong. He wrong.
Yeah, he's wrong.
He's not saying that that's right.
I didn't say that it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that understand the reason why women choose.
The logic is there.
Choose marriages for security. Men opt out of marriage out of security. They feel more secure outside of marriage. Women feel more secure within marriage. So to understand why a woman wants to get married is to understand why a man chooses not to get married.
That's not a man.
I don't think you can put a blanket over it unless we have some data to support it. But I think we're being disingenuous when we have women here that can actually attest and make a statement. And I think it's substantial enough to go off of their points and what they believe and why they would get married, just as much as it would if they asked the question on men and how we are so strong in our points to where we say, hey, look, we're telling you how men think, believe in what we say. We should be able to do the same thing when a woman are saying what they believe in.
I didn't deny what the women said. I just simply said that
Well, I
sounds
think
like
two women on here said it was a spiritual thing.
I
I mean,
didn't.
did you say that, Ms. Taken?
Yeah,
So
I said that was my
She said
number one
she
reason.
said many things. She also said that she loved the man too.
okay,
Okay,
so
can I say?
so if that's the case, then you don't actually. So why the need for marriage as a form of commitment?
Go ahead,
That's what the
Shan.
word says.
The
I believe.
ultimate commitment.
One, you just answered your own question. He can dip when he wants to. You just said he wants to avoid responsibility. Okay,
That's
that's the reason. No. Whether you believe it or not, and that's how you move. That's what you're saying.
That's not
A
what
man who does not want to hold down his family, give his family the security of him being there, he gets to walk away when the going gets tough. That's basically what you said somewhere along the line in that. We're not, I know you're not saying it's right, but there are men who think this way. And that's the reason why we're in the situation that we're in as a culture. Our village is the way it is.
Let's
Okay,
assume that's true.
a lot of people feel that way. Now, for the woman, yes, she's going to want to be married because there are a lot of things knocks against women when they have kids. She's devalued having your children. She's sacrificing herself, going down. Like you just devalued her just because she carried your seed. So boom, that's a knock against her, right? And so many other things. Her marketplace value goes down because she decided to invest in you, but you don't even want to invest in her. Like, of course, she's going to want you to marry her.
Notice how you said that he wants to be able to dip whenever he wants to, right?
You said it.
No. That's why I said let's accept if what you just said is facts. Then that explains why women want to get married. So he can't just dip whenever he wants to.
Right.
Security.
Right.
That's all I was saying the whole time.
Yeah, but I don't think men are not want to get
We
married.
gotta get to the next topic, y'all.
That's all I've been saying the whole time is to understand why women want to get married. Security is to understand why men don't want to get married. Security. He feels more secure outside of it. She feels more secure within it. That's all I was saying.
I disagree that men feel more secure without being married.
Hey, I thought Jay, I said we're trying to get to the next topic, man. Come on.
Yeah, go ahead. We go to the next
Where
topic.
Kenny at? I'm gonna get Kenny on you, Sweeney. I see it now.
Ali came with another one. Says one country cookie don't make Ali pull up, make you fall in love and have kids out of wedlock.
Sir, I don't do that with Zesty, man. Stop playing with me.
I ain't that good. That's
God damn.
Hit the like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Let's get into our next topic, which is: do we need to take more accountability for the people we invite in our lives? Here's the clip.
That we all need to take responsibility for is everything comes into your life by energetic invitation. Energetic invitation. If it's vibrating here and you're vibrating here, it's going to come in. If it's vibrating down here and you're down here, it's going to come in. And many of us are vibrating down here and we want somebody up here.
Come on.
So,
Come on.
if the relationship doesn't turn the way you want it to turn, what then you have to look at is, okay, what was I doing, thinking, feeling? How was I being that allowed this into my life? And what is it that I've learned about myself that I can get to choose not to do it somewhere else? We have to stop being victims to the things that we attract by energetic vibration, because there's just some things that just can't even get into your life if you're vibrating at a certain frequency.
Yes.
Now, here's the trick. Here's the, the hook. Most of what we're thinking and where we're vibrating from is playing silently in the back of our mind. That's why you got to do your work to clean up your consciousness, to clean up your fears and your angers and all of those things, because that's what's going to attract Boo Boo the Fool. Or, Maquita the Cheetah. That's what's going to attract these people.
All right, let's go ahead and get into it. Do we need to take more accountability for the people we invite in our lives? I'm going to start with you first, Balance.
You want to start with me first. Okay. You know what? Because the guy who kept giving cash apps, I think it was Ali, He's a perfect example because every time I see him on social media, it's always spewing hate towards women. I don't know if he had really bad experiences with women or what it is, but he's the exact example of he's attracting his mate, his match. They're just vibrating all down there, just negativity and just nasty, just evil. I don't even know what kind of frequency that is. It's so low vibrational that I cannot relate because I don't attract men like that. And if I do, if maybe they find me attractive, I'm not attracted back to them. So it would never go anywhere anyway. Any man that's spewing just such negativity, I'm completely turned off. I'm completely turned off. Like, how do you feel that way about women? That's how you feel about your mama, about your sister, your cousin, your auntie? Oh my goodness. And you got a kid, a daughter. You feel like that about your daughter? Like, I just don't, the negativity that you feel for women has you attracting negative like women, like you. So I'm just saying, I think what she said has so much truth to it. I'm telling you, I'm vibrating up here. My man and me, we vibrating up here. We don't even have these conversations. It's just weird. It's weird energy. But I think the men that just promote that they can't stand marriage and family and something that could be so beautiful when done correctly, the men that hate on that so much, it's sad, but I think it's because they just have never really seen it in a healthy way. They've never experienced healthy love. So because of that, it doesn't exist to them. Healthy love does not exist to them because they've never seen it. They don't have it. They've never experienced it. So anybody who speaks about it, we're lying. It don't exist. And they can't ever attract it because they don't even believe in it. So I'm just telling you what she's saying is absolute facts. And I wish more men would turn the TV off. All right. Turn social media off. Close it. Okay. Close what's Fresh and Fit? Oh God. Close Fresh and Fit. Turn it off. Kevin Samuel's not here. Turn it off. Turn all the old YouTube. Matter of fact, delete YouTube off your phone. Delete YouTube off of everything that you have. You don't ever need to watch YouTube ever again. Open a Bible, read a book, go out into the real world with real people, with sun and the sky and the stars and the moon. Go talk to some people. Live in reality for a little bit, and it might change your thinking and your mentality. I'm going to stop because thank you. Okay.
Round of applause.
All right. Let's go ahead and go to Jay. Your thoughts about that, dude? We need to take more accountability for the people we invite in our lives. I got a question for you.
Yeah.
How can we recognize and address red flags or warning signs when forming new relationships or friendships?
I mean, I think like first, once again, it's based on the information that you've acquired, you know, the data, the amount of living that you've done. You know, if you have data that you can match it to, you know, to verify what those red flags are. You know, a lot of us, based on experiences, aren't able to identify that. A lot of us have dealt with so many red flags that we don't know what's not a red flag. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about dealing with somebody that is all red flags and you straight up are thinking that this is normal. You know, everybody's baseline is different. So I think it's based on data. It's based on mentorship, you know, finding somebody that has a balanced life, that has, you know, what's considered a normal baseline on the process of how things should go. And, you know, studying that. And then you'll be able to pinpoint, well, okay, this isn't really a good decision, or this person isn't, you know, responsible in terms of finances, or this person might not be the best mate for long term. You know, I mean, you can, like you said, people come in our lives for seasons and you can't keep them in there longer than that. You know, a lot of us get caught up in keeping people in our lives a lot longer than they need to be. And they're just steady there, you know, disrupting your progress. You know, you have a mission, you have somewhere that you are destined to go. And a lot of times the people that we keep in our lives that aren't supposed to be there, they hinder that, so I think experiences, kind of what Balance said, get outside, meet people, talk to people. That's how you do it. I mean, sitting in front of a computer, it's the new normal, but it shouldn't be. You definitely need to get outside. You need to go sit at a bar, watch a game, talk to people, what you do for a living, or what's your situation. You definitely need to interact with people, and it's not happening online. Online is not where real people are. There are some real people, but the majority is people that are posturing as something else, just in my experience from what I've seen. So get experiences.
All right. I'm gonna go to Luis. What are some common pitfalls or mistakes individuals make when it comes to choosing the right people to surround themselves with?
No, the video talked about, being responsible for the people you attract in your life. You know what I'm saying? I think that you need to be very mindful of the type of energy that you're putting out, because there are a lot of people who are hurt. There are a lot of hurting people out there. And if you radiate a certain type of aura or type of je ne sais quoi about you, you're going to always attract all those individuals because those individuals are attracted to something that you have that's inherent about you. And then they're not doing it sometimes, consciously, and sometimes it's unconscious. Like there are certain people who give off this really good feel vibe, and for those who tend to move in that kind of space, you got to be able to identify those people. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like keep them at a distance and know how to set boundaries. And I think that's a very important um a very important set that you need to do early on is how to set boundaries around those individuals because you can have conversations, you could give, free game, free wisdom, whatever. But I think it's important to kind of understand the limitations of that interaction so you don't put yourself in a perpetual cycle where you're constantly, um, attracting people and expecting to be their savior or their helper, especially in relationships because you need to be able to identify, people who are hurting. So that's all I got.
All right. Let me go ahead and go to Brother Hink. Do we need to take more accountability for the people we invite in our lives?
Hell yeah, because they can't be there if you don't want them there. Look, if I allow assholes in my life, and that's a problem with me. First of all, I need to evaluate myself. Why am I attracting these assholes? Am I one of these assholes that I'm attracting? And if I am, and that's not what I want in my life, I need to make some changes. That means I need to change the circle of friends I'm dealing with. Maybe change the places I go, places I interact or hang out, or maybe even have to change family members if need be, because got some families that are assholes. You just need to love them from a distance and just stay away. If that's what I need to do, make the proper change, make the proper adjustments. So yeah, you should be accountable for people who that shouldn't be in your life. That's negative and bring negative vibe to your circle. Yeah, we should be accountable. I can't sit there and blame Jay. It's your fault you bringing that negative. No, I allow you in my life. I allow you to be my friend. I allow you in my circle. So I can't fault Jay for being an asshole. I can't fault JR for being an asshole. I can't fault Sweeney for being an asshole. I have to fault myself because I allow them people in my circle, in my circumference. So then if that's the case, then I need to do some change. I accept whatever I got to accept.
All right. I'm gonna go to Cookie. How does taking accountability for the people we invite into our lives contribute to personal growth and success?
Well, taking accountability for who you bring into your circle is mandatory. And I say that because well, you notice when you're dealing with when you see a bunch of people like celebrities and people that have made it and stuff like that, and I'll use Michael Vick for instance. Everybody's like, oh, he got in trouble, the dogs, when really in reality it was his cousin. Michael Vick was nowhere around, right? But because he didn't have the discipline or the vibration to, or the accountability to say, man, no, I can't keep these people in my life. This is bad. I'm Michael Vick and I can't have dog fighters in my circle. He ends up in prison, right? So I guess when it comes to success and taking accountability of who you keep in your circle, it has to be like-minded individuals on the path that you are taking. Whether you're lily padding on that path to like different spots. With all honesty, the circle might change. Like my down with my day ones. I think that is the dumbest saying ever. You can have your day ones, but if your day one's not about that growth with you, then your day ones need to stay right there where they are in that day one, and then you could be on like day 2000. But if you can find a group of people that's like minded that can grow with you, that is what you should be your focus. But the accountability part, if you slip up, you slip up, and you have to take responsibility for whatever the slip up is, or the fallback, or the failed, whatever the failure was that happens because you let this person this close. You're like, oh, my accountant did this. You still going to jail for your taxes. You know what I mean? Because you didn't pay your taxes. It's not your accountant was stealing all your money. Now you broke. So you have to vet everybody, not just people that you're in like physical relationships with. You have to vet your friends, sometimes your family, and make sure that the people around you are for you. And if you slip up and that person is not, then that's on you. And I totally agree with her.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna go to you, Darren. I'm gonna go to you. What practical steps or strategies can listeners implement to ensure they are inviting the right people into their lives?
Well, I would say step number one is to maximize your ability to use discernment. And the way I would do that is I would surround myself around people who are wise, people that I aspire to mimic and be like, that are showing me positive traits and positive results from some of the decisions that they made in their lives. And I would say most importantly is just being spiritually connected uh, with the Word and God. And that's what I've been starting to do. I went on a binge just reading for like 6 hours straight, and I just found so many things that I wasn't privy of that kind of like opened my eye up to some of the things that I haven't been through in my life that made me want to pivot even more. But that is a major step, because even if you don't have anybody in your circle, even if you don't have a father or somebody to guide you to make the right decisions, so or be able to use discernment to recognize the negative energy, following the word and reading up and doing your research and just learning could be enough to where you don't really have to rely on somebody else, because other people can have hiccups in their life to where they make mistakes. You don't want to fall into the same traps as other people by following behind them. So that's why it's important to have your own understanding going in and using your own tools and stuff that can guide you through. Because I get what she's saying. Using the energy, the negative energy can invite negative things, but we also got to account for people's ability to finesse their way in. I mean, the more we get into the future, the more we go in and evolve in society, the more harder it is to be able to recognize the people that's going to betray you, which is why it's more important to stay anchored down in some type of principle or ideology. And I would say the word of God, because the word of God is undefeated. It don't matter how far we go into the future. The Bible is always going to have something you can use to be a tool or something you can use to navigate through it. And I think that's what we kind of run away from. We try to feel like we can lead in on our understanding and just make decisions based on and then we fall into these traps. And now we got to face accountability. Yeah, but how many times are we going to continue to do that before we start to say, okay, look, maybe it's time to just turn to the word. This is a proven case. It never fails. I'm gonna just go ahead and devote myself to trying to make myself better and be more spiritually connected to God, so I don't have to worry about falling into traps and forcing myself to have accountability or forcing myself to use the right discernment to figure out who's gonna finesse me. So I mean, we can keep being hard-headed and keep making these mistakes and then coming to accountability, but still you're gonna suffer, you're gonna keep going through pain. Other people around you that's leaning on you, they're gonna suffer. So what do they call it? Come to Jesus. At one point, we're just gonna have to come to Jesus and leave these heathens and leave all these iniquities and all this work alone.
Darwin, you sound like a new creation. I don't know who you are today, but praise Jesus this Sunday. I am loving this new creation you presented today. That's all. Amen. Everything you just said. Amen. That's it.
All right, I'm gonna go to mistaken. In your experience, mistaken, what are the consequences of not taking responsibility for the company we keep?
You end up getting pulled into some mess. And you can't necessarily blame them because you're choosing to stay there. It's kind of like what's that saying? If you keep getting what you've always gotten, then that means that you're continuing to do what you've always been doing, right? And so when you're hanging, like I just think about my childhood, and it was a crew that I hung with. And even though some of the things that they did, I didn't do, just by association, I was either thought that I was doing the same thing, or I ended up getting into situations that created a situation that, hindered me, that I got caught up, like been to court and stuff like that. So in that regard, if you want to change, I definitely believe that if you want to change your outcome, you definitely have to change your circle. So if my goal was to get married, it wouldn't be beneficial for me to not hang with like-minded women or friends that are on that same path. If I'm hanging with a bunch of single friends who don't have any intention on being married, they're going to do things that are not in alignment with what I'm trying to do in terms of becoming a wife. You know what I'm saying? And just in terms of behavior, one of the things that I am learning and continuing to grow, where I see I actually need a lot of growth. And this is why I think it's important to have friends that's, or people that surround you that's going to kind of be your sounding board. Like just recently, my husband sent me something about like 20, it was called something like 20 things that 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 you are maturing, emotional maturity, right? And so in my mind, I'm like, oh, I know I probably got most of these, right? That's what I'm thinking before I listen to it. And so I listened through it the first time and I'm like, okay, yeah. And so then I was like, let me go through it a second time and really evaluate myself, like do some self-reflection. And I'm like, damn, I ain't even halfway there. Like I have a lot of work to do. And I know the way we view ourselves aren't necessarily the way others view us. So the next step is I was like, babe, I want to listen to this with you together because I know what I'm picking where I think I may have been, where I've matured. You may not see that in my relation to you as a wife. I'm looking at it as me as an individual because if you have the desire to grow, the thing is that you're automatically going to be attracted to those things that's going to help you grow. If you don't want to grow, then you're going to stay stuck where you are and keep kind of like what Ballison said, is that you're going to keep these ideologies and be around people that's going to reinforce those same negative ideologies. And in your world, what you're saying is true. And in your world, everybody around you also agrees, right? But unless you want to get on a higher vibration, you can't stay low and then expect that the higher vibration is going to come. You're going to have to move. So I definitely agree with what Iyanla was saying and what Balance and Code. The only thing I would add, I know she said just get off of YouTube altogether. I think YouTube can be a great tool to help in growth, but you just have to have the mindset to change your algorithm and make sure you're looking for those things that's going to pour into you to help you get to where you say you want to be. Because there's a lot that we don't know. Some of us don't have therapy money, but like the growth in terms of emotional maturity, I learned something about myself just based on something that somebody else sent me that helped me, kind of do some reflection.
All right, mistaken. We'll go to you, Sweeney. I know you got your personal thing you may want to say, but before you do, can you answer this question? Can you share any personal examples where taking accountability for your social circle has positively impacted your life?
Um, how does that? Let me see. Ask that question one more time.
Can you share any personal examples where taking accountability for your social circle or for your social circle has positively impacted your life? Might be a typo.
Oh, not really, because I think I am a reflection of the people that I have around me. So if I have people that are fucking up around me, then 9 times out of 10, I'm probably participating in the fucking up. Not to say that that's what I'm doing, but anytime I've gotten in trouble or something like that, I can't necessarily say, man, it's because I had that fool around me. That's why I got in trouble. No, I wanted to do what I did to get in trouble. So I'm normally active. I'm the person that I am. So if you see these people around me, 9 times out of 10, I'm surrounding myself with the same people that I am. So I can't necessarily say that I've gone out my way to seek out people that were positive influences on me, more so than I desire to be more positive. Therefore, more positive people come around me. Or if I desire to be more negative people tend to be around me. Or look at it like a YouTube algorithm. If you in that space of hurt and hate, guess what you're going to find yourself watching? And you're just going to pick up on more and more and more and more until one day you like, I don't even feel this way no more. The next thing you know, you watching fucking YouTube videos about building garages and shit like that. Your whole entire YouTube algorithm changed. So I think humans do the same thing with other humans. When you feel a certain type of way or you are a certain type of way, you align yourself with those that are in the same wheelhouse as you. But the moment you change, the people around you tend to change as well. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Sweeney the Great.
Well, I would say with that Michael Vick situation, I understand what Cookie was saying, but I also think the risk that a lot of us take when we doing things that we're not supposed to do, we accept the risk because of the amount of satisfaction we get from doing the wrong things. And I think that also attaches itself to accountability. But I think that Michael Vick was well aware of what was going on. I think he knew the risk, but I think the satisfaction out of being able to do those things was higher than, the consequences. And I will also say that the common traps, I know you asked somebody about the common traps that people get themselves into. I would say if it's dealing with relationships, it's probably infatuation. Your sexual desire. You having that temptation and not enough discipline to be able to fight it. What could put you in a relationship situation to where, you have all these negative energy, but it's certain aspects of the relationship that are so satisfying to you, just keeps you there. And I kind of understand why a lot of people stay in these messed up relationships and broken homes, because you're able to, just take, for example, the D, having some good D. I've never been, I got good D, but I'm just saying,
What?
I'm just saying, I've heard.
What?
Come on,
saying
man.
I've delivered.
Man, nobody want to hear that shit.
No, I'm saying, but I'm just saying
No
though.
Diddy, no Diddy.
There are situations or there's locker room talks or basketball talks where
She's coming out the closet, brother.
I heard men say, "Hey, look,
Everybody
down
say
in the
what?
bedroom. That's the only reason why you staying." So, I mean, I'm pretty sure brothers can attest to that. That
Well, this might go viral. Right?
you can be messed up across the board on everything else, but as long as you put it down, you can hook her or keep her. What do they call it? Sprung.
I'm not sure anybody hearing anything else.
Well, I mean, y'all get what I'm saying, though, man.
I kind of looked down for a second. And I just
no, Bruce. I don't want to get what you're saying.
You could deliver it. Then the woman can attest to that too. If the man can deliver it right, I mean, and not y'all women, but a lot of women that are weak and being able to use discernment would stay in a relationship just based off the man's ability to deliver the D right. That's all I'm saying.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't necessarily think that's true. And this is the reason. If you look at the stats, most stats show that these women aren't getting good D, right? But they stay anyway. So I don't think it's about the good D. I think it's more about how they feel towards the person that they're with. Whether the person is a bum or not, if there's something about that person that makes them feel a certain way, they will stay. So it's not about the D most of the time. Now, if you already feel a certain way about the person, and then on top of that, they got good D, then yeah, that you're in trouble.
This might be a conversation for the women.
I think that the good deed only works for a certain age group. If you out here 28, 29, between the ages of 28 and 45 and staying in a bad situation over some good deed, you're doomed, sis.
I
Like,
think
for real.
go for any age group. I don't think age age should be the barometer on that. If you in any situation, regardless of age, over some good D or some good P, then you're doomed.
Well, no. Well, yeah, you're still doomed, but I mean, like, doomed in the long run. An 18-year-old can recover. You know what I mean? 18, 19, a girl in college is just like, oh, I can't leave him alone because she thinks she getting good D. You feel me? She thinks she getting good D. She ain't really had good D yet, you know. So she's like, "Oh, well, he makes me feel good." And that's what I'm talking about. The youngins that still have time to recover afterwards. But like these 28, 30-year-old women that's hanging in there getting in these horrible relationships over some good D, ma'am, I need you to
this may be
snap out of it. You feel me?
This may be a little bit random, but I just never understood this, especially from the Christian women. Why do they always say, "Oh my God"?
What?
Who?
I had saw somewhere, and I think it was probably on IG or whatever. I was listening to, I can't remember it. It was saying something about sex is the highest form of a reflection of God married to the church or something like that, something along those lines. And it was like, and it was saying, it was trying to liken it to, so no matter, and we were built to praise, praise God or whatever. And sex is the highest form between a man and a wife in terms of the way God intended. So even when you're not saved, you will sing his praises in the midst of that highest act. Now, it just sounded good. I was just like, oh, but yeah, that was one of the explanations that I heard.
What?
I'm gonna see if I can find it, and I'll put it in the back chat.
Did you just say "ow"? Like the JR sound effect?
No, they say, "Oh God."
Just one of the random things to think about.
But if bad, so this is my take on it. If
Lapeef After Dark.
it
We're
definitely
gonna
has
change it up because we're gonna balance it back. So No.
It definitely has to be more than just good sex to keep somebody in place. That's just in general. If you have nothing to offer then more than likely a person is not going to stay. Or like Shan mentioned earlier, something about a placeholder. You may be the person that they keep right now until they meet somebody who's going to give them more in depth of what it is that they need.
Well, what is that? What is the good D? What does good D rank on a level of things that has the most leverage to keep a woman in a relationship? I know finance is probably going to be number one, but what is good D?
I don't know if most women operate like this, but I was gonna say, so of course, when I met my husband, he was broke. He was in college, right? So he didn't have anything. We met in college. I was 18. I wasn't, he wasn't my first, right? But what was different, I'll say, with him, it was two things. First thing is I said this on Friday, that I'm very thankful that he was a man that of righteousness, because he could have had me doing whatever he wanted. And the reason was because he had I hadn't learned who I was yet, right? What 18-year-old know who they are, right? So that was one thing on me. And when you don't if you're unable to define yourself, you leave the door open to have others define you. But I'm thankful that he was a person that that did not take advantage of me the way that he probably could have. And the reason is because it wasn't because the D was good, although that was the bonus. It was the fact that he got my mind first. I was able to get experience conversation, experience things with him that I never, on a different level than I hadn't, right? And so because of that, then when you follow up the mental with the physical aspect, then I think that's typically what keeps a woman around. So they can say it's the D, but it's more than just the D. It's something about them that they are attracted to and that they like, but they may not necessarily be getting more than just the sex from them. So they put it on the sex.
So if he was bad, but all those other things applied.
I believe it.
Say what?
I ain't gonna lie.
If
all of the above.
he had your mental, everything was good. He had your mind. He was speaking to your soul.
Out of there.
But
Sorry.
if it was,
sorry.
if
and anybody that say different is they
hey, Cookie, let me cook. But if it was Cookie, let me cook. But he came in and it was just a bad experience. Like he didn't know what the hell he was doing. Are you saying that you would be like, he really spoke to my soul? So would y'all be here today?
I would say yes, because I didn't have anything to compare it to. I was able to say, dang, this is some good stuff, just based on the minimal experience that I had prior to him.
Better than the last.
Hold on. So you saying you stated that he was broke originally, and now Sweeney is saying not only was he broke, he didn't have good. Do you saying you would still stay?
Well, it wouldn't have been for the D. It would have been something else that he was providing for me.
Get in there for a second. Go ahead, Cookie.
You understand what I'm saying?
No.
What I'm saying.
Wait, let me just be able to explain. What part don't you understand, Smee?
All right. So no, I get why you. I'll get why you, because bad D was never on the table. Actually, I'm saying he was broke. If he was broke, like you said, he had all those other things, but bad D was also on the table. Are y'all here today?
If he had my mind, then probably.
Man.
If he had my mind, no, listen. I would definitely say if he had he did have my mind and he was broke. And so, I mean,
How does it get to your mind without?
But if he was bad in bed,
because what I was looking
God
for
awful.
was because what I was looking for in a partner at that time, even now, we typically look for other people to fulfill things for us that we may lack or didn't have, right? So
He
for
was.
me, my issue wasn't a physical thing that I needed from him. Mine was more of an emotional connection. So he was able to connect with me on an emotional and mental level. And
Yo,
because of
Sweeney,
that,
believer. That's
Hold on,
tough.
hold on,
That's
hold
right.
on, hold on, wait.
It's
I
tough.
believe you.
Hold on, let me just say this. I'm gonna let you go. That's tough for an 18-year-old man to be able to get to a woman's mind without money or D. That's wow.
No, actually, you know what's crazy? I think this is the tripped out part. Because one of the things that she also said that contributed to that was lack of experience. She didn't have nobody else to really compare it to say, oh, this, which kind of speaks to, because I think a lot of men can speak
That's
to women's
critical.
souls. I think a lot of men have the capability of being able to talk to your soul. But if you tack on the experiences that they have with other men,
They've been tampered with. Yeah.
we might have a different
Mr.
conversation.
Taken wasn't tampered with. That's why he was able to get to her mind, which also strengthens the arguments of the body count and then being able to be sexually experienced and the imprints of another man. And that's why it's more important. So whenever y'all ask this question, why does my body count matter? Miss Taken just gave y'all the whole freaking formula to it. If you haven't been tampered with, a man doesn't have to use his money or his D to get emotionally connect with you in a way that where the relationship can be more substantial.
Like I
And quick
admitted
question.
I was
That's
not a
not
virgin
true.
though when I met him.
Hold on.
So
No,
I
you
wasn't a
don't have to
virgin
be a
when I met
virgin.
him.
Hold on, y'all, because we got One Country and Jay got a question. Go ahead, One Country and Jay.
All I was saying was somebody brought up horrible deed. Okay. And what I was saying is I'm not spending the rest of my life, no matter how many bodies I done had, with horrible D. Now, just because you don't, it don't take several D's to know that you're not climaxing. So throw that body count shit out the window real quick. The fact of the matter is, if you don't feel good when it's over, or he pull it out and you like, excuse me, I'm not spending the rest of my life with him. I don't care what he doing. I'm not doing that. Women, if y'all sacrificing the rest of y'all lives and y'all body and you cooking and cleaning and you sexually miserable, you're going
Okay,
to
let me ask you a
resent
question.
that man. Leave that man if it
Let me
ain't
Jay
good.
question.
I'm sorry. Why are
Let
we
me ask
sitting
this
here
one
acting
question
like
real
that's
quick.
bad? I'm just telling the truth.
Cookie, how many partners did you have from 0 up before you started recognizing that it was bad sex?
Don't ever answer that.
No,
I wasn't gonna answer. Okay, wait.
no, I'm not trying to ask you.
You're not asking body count.
I'm not asking your body count. I'm asking how many partners did you have? Was it before you recognized that sex was actually bad? Where it was everything was going well, you was okay with it, everything was cool. How many partners did you have before you recognized this ain't it?
2.
Or that wasn't it?
2.
So it took 2 people for you to. So the first person was doing relatively okay in your mind. Then the second person came around and you was like, oh, this is better. Maybe that last one wasn't as great as I thought it was.
That's who she should have stayed with.
Absolutely not. No, I shouldn't have.
We're gonna go ahead and get Jay. Let's get Jay in there real quick. But
Yeah, no, I just wanted to ask, mistaken. Y'all were both in college. I know you kept saying he was broke 18. Y'all were both in college.
Yeah, I was a freshman and he was a senior.
Okay, so y'all were both.
Actually.
So y'all were both broke.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think now is different because with social media access, you can contact or reach out to anybody. Back at that time when you're both at essentially ground zero, I mean, I think it's different. But I mean, in regards to sex, I mean, or it's relative. You know what I mean? Everybody has a different definition of what good is and what good isn't, based on, like Sweeney and Darwin was saying, experiences.
Would y'all have married y'all wives if she was dry?
That's a man problem when a woman getting dry, bro. You can't get her wet. Well, that's a problem. I think it's a
Nah,
mutual problem.
that's not necessarily true.
That's
That's
what
not.
I'm saying. I'm correcting myself. I think it's a mutual thing.
I'm just asking.
I mean, you agree that it's a mutual thing that if she dries up on you,
Oh,
I
I
could
agree
It
with
could be a
that.
medical thing.
oh, shit.
I can tell you this though, Cookie.
That's where I was going with it.
The first girl that I was with wasn't the greatest person, but in that moment, did I feel like, oh man, this was some whack ass sex? No, shit, everything was great in my eyes at that moment.
I'm talking about after y'all knew
How like
what
if
what it
everything is
should
great in
feel
my
like.
mind, but that means that I would have to have something else to compare that to because at that moment I was completely happy with what I was getting.
No, I'm talking about like at later in life, like your wives. You can't tell me that you weren't experienced before you got married. Were you not? Were you a virgin?
No, I'm was experienced, but you're asking it as if we're okay. If she had dry whatever, but that comes with experience. But if I married the first person that I ever had sex with, I probably wouldn't have cared. Like it would probably
No,
be
absolutely not. No, I agree with that. No, I agree with that.
So I'm just trying to get an understanding. So how good the sex is more important than being with a person for the rest of your life.
No, it's a package deal, JR.
Yeah, but we were asking on a hierarchy, from greatest to most important to least important. Where does the good D rank? Is it number one, number two?
It's just part of the package, man.
I mean, because the reason why I asked that, and I'm gonna let y'all maybe Luis in there after me, and then we'll come back around to mistaken. But the reason why I asked that is because, unfortunately, yeah, I could be wrong, right? But I think most married folks experience some type of different experiences the older you get. Like somebody falls off eventually, and then when they fall off, then what do you have? So when you place this much value on sex, it's starting to make me think like it would probably be scary for a man to go all the way, even when we talk about marriage and commitment, if he has this mindset that I have to make sure I keep putting it down, even well into my 70s, because from what I know, I think women have a higher sex drive for the most part. I don't have these numbers, but based off my experience, what I see, I think women typically go longer, and I start to hear a lot more men having discussions about them having troubles of stepping up to the plate. So if that is the case, whether the woman gets dry or the man he can't deliver, put it down, then like where does that leave y'all as far as the commitment that you guys have?
At some point, ain't we throwing in the towel? Like if we'd have made the kids and
I
No,
mean,
this is the thing. If you're built on that primarily, when that subsides or it's not what it once was, or medical
that's
issues,
the end of your relationship. Is that the end?
is it the end of your relationship? So you could have this guy, this Superman in the bed.
Well, that's kind of hard to really. It's kind of hard for us to believe you because you saying that it's a package deal.
No,
That
I'm talking
they
about
have
from
to.
the jump, from the beginning.
I mean, but
Y'all
from the
talking
jump, I mean,
about
but
now y'all trying
anything,
to make me seem
right?
like a villain because I told the
But
truth.
anything,
That's not gonna
but
happen.
no, I 100% believe you, right? And I believe that there are a lot. I'm not going to say most, but there are a lot of people that think the same way. But as we having these discussions, because this is a real life discussion, I know we avoid talking about sex, but if it's all about the people that we bring to the table to have this discussion, we have to start thinking about the mindset moving forward as far as like what are we basing our relationships, our marriages, our commitments off of? Because if you leave with that saying I got experience, if it ain't good in the beginning, then I'm gone. Could you potentially have lost a good partner?
If we've done everything and I've taught you and tried with you and you still trash, no. Now, if I know that back in the day you was banging it down and something physically happens to you as an older man It goes from his job to make me ready, to my job to make him ready. And if it's still something physically wrong with him, we work with that. We work on that. Or we just hang up the towel, which I would have absolutely no problem
So
doing
when
at
do
the
you
age of
hang it up? Because
65.
I thought when you talk about commitment, this is something that you willing to, if you gonna look at this person as somebody you want to commit to in a long-term relationship, I think that is something that you continuously work on. You
That's
know,
what I'm
You
saying.
work
Like,
through.
yeah, but
you
not
work
if
through
you.
it
I'm
and
talking
you
about in the early stages of getting ready to commit to what level of commitment are we on?
I
Because
mean, but I mean, some may argue like, why you even experiencing before marriage? You know, like why aren't y'all focusing on mentally connecting? Because sometimes when you mentally connect, like there's a level that I don't think that most people have ever reached, and they probably will not reach when it comes to true like intimacy, right? And most of us are just now starting to hear it. Some folks may have experienced it, and some just haven't willing to give it a try. But when you mentally are connected, it's different. And I believe even if there was the potential of something that could come in between, that could halt or step in between y'all sexual getting sexually satisfied, that if y'all like hitting it there, it may take y'all in places. It may not even got to be all the way. Just him sitting inside might just be enough. I don't know, but I'm just saying, if y'all are at that level of intimacy that a lot of folks haven't reached yet, you guys may be able to endure and maybe have a longer lasting relationship. And you may not be so focused on the physical of what it's doing. I mean,
my
it could be other ways that you may be able to get stimulated in the event that you guys run into this problem.
absolutely, my whole argument was somebody posed a question about Bad D. I believe it was Darwin. And he asked Miss Taken about that. And I said, at that age, finding a husband and we're actively having sex before marriage, this is understood. And he was doing all this and doing all of that. Would I stay if the D was bad? I would not marry no man if the D was bad. We would never get that far. That's what I'm saying. It has to be a whole package for me for us to even get to the altar.
so you can get the,
Do y'all understand that?
I understand it, but it's a contradiction. You can get the tip in, but you ain't willing to do the work later.
What do you mean the work
All right, let
later?
me go to get Luis in there. Go ahead, Luis.
I mean, what it sounds to me is that a lot of men are competing with past relationships that women have had, in their past. Because let's be honest, man. If we're talking about bad sex, are we talking about the action of effort, or are we talking about just that man being well endowed and having a certain package? Because all right, then we're not talking about whether size matter. I think we're talking about more of the effort and the energy that's put in understanding your partner's body and understanding their needs and stuff like that. It just sounds to me a lot of people are just not having conversations before sex. That's really what it boils down to it. You know what I'm saying? It's about, what do you like? What do you enjoy? How much intensity do you want? You know what I'm saying? Is it a light choke? Is it a hard choke? Is it, you know what I'm saying? Do we have to introduce other things in the bedroom? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, how much foreplay time is needed, right? I think all these conversations are very important. And I just find the more and more conversations that we have in terms of just in and around sex, I can tell that people, even people in relationships are not having conversations.
Exactly. That's what I was
Because
saying, Louise. If I'm telling you what I like and what I want and how I want to feel, and you're not getting it right, we're not going to ain't no altar. I don't care how nice you
Don't you think
are.
it's unfair already that y'all put this on our plate, that we got to be these providers and protectors already is
I know. Hey,
enough,
listen, I
and
ain't
then
say
now you
I ain't
want to say we
working.
got to hit it the right way, and you ain't willing to work with us after you already let us inside.
I
But
think
I have been working. That's what I'm saying,
I'm
Darwin.
trying to figure
I don't
out.
think you
It
put
ain't
them
like
on.
the first time and then it's like,
I
strike
don't
her
believe you.
out. If
I
I'm
think you
talking
straight
about
her
if
out
I'm in a
every time.
relationship with somebody and
People
it
are
ain't
asking the
working, I'm like,
same.
nah, bruh, I can't do it. And you know, don't do me like that. Y'all know I
You ain't
don't.
you ain't giving that man you ain't giving that man 2 months to figure you out.
Oh,
If it ain't good within
I'm
the
a
first 2 times,
relationship person though. I
hold on,
don't
y'all.
just
Hold on.
sleep around. I don't go out on
I'm
dates and
not
just
saying
sleep
you
with
do,
random
but
men. So I do give them the time. If
I
they
feel like
don't
that's
You
a
figure
gonna
it
let
guaranteed
him
out,
shit.
smash for two
that's
months until he get it right. Then you gonna call it quits.
whatever.
That's a hell of a
That's
body.
not
I was
true.
going to answer some of the questions. I saw Lewis asked it, and I saw Precious like saying, "What is bad D?" In my mind, like I think what bad D is when you're a selfish partner. And so what that is that when you're putting your needs and only your needs above making sure that your partner has a good experience as well. So I think that would
Facts.
be what bad D is. I think good D is the opposite, that you are going to communicate,
Man finishing first, right?
huh?
Would it be the
That
man finishing first?
no, I would say good
No.
D is
No, I'm saying
about
bad D would be the man finishing first and not allowing his woman to finish first.
no, that I wouldn't, for me, I wouldn't say that that would be bad D if he finished first, as long as he helped me finish. Um, so yeah. But I would say good D is
Hold on, let us
taking
finish.
into account what your partner wants, like what Country Cookie was saying, is that we're communicating. You've created a safe environment for me to feel like I can tell you that ain't right. You know what I'm saying? Or I like this, or I like when you do that. Whatever it is, whatever your communication style is that your partner considers your feelings, what you like, and then act on that to make sure the experience is just as good for you as it is for him. But in terms of sex and priority in general, for me, like for Cookie, I guess women are different. So for her, sex and love or whatever her hierarchy of needs are on the same level for her in her relationship, right? Whereas for me, I'm not saying that I don't want to have great sex with my partner, but in my mind, if he's fulfilling what I know I need from him, like if it's the emotional, mental, all of that kind of stuff that I know that's going to sustain a relationship for me long term, I'm okay with having mediocre, because I feel like that is always something that we can work on to get better, right? So it doesn't have to stay there. With the more we get to learn each other, learn each other's bodies, and experiment or whatever, I always think, and this is just me, I have not been in a situation, so I don't know, but I would think as long as there's always an opportunity to grow in that area, we can make it work.
Now I think that right there makes men feel more comfortable, given all of the things we got to bring to the table. The women that are willing to work with the man, if he's not hitting it right on all cylinders, you're willing to be able to work with him and not just cut him off just because it ain't right.
Right. And I want to kind of actually explore that real quick, what Mistaken said. So let's assume that a man knows without a shadow of a doubt he's a 1 minute man. He's 1 minute. He can give you one good solid minute, and he knows this about himself. It's been happening to him since he's been having sex. He gets with a woman.
12 pumps.
Yeah, he got 12 pumps in him. And so
swirl.
he knows that I know without a shadow of a doubt I only got 12 pumps in me. So he performs fellatio on you to completion, and then he gets his 12 pumps in till he's complete. So that means that you pretty much never get off, or you may, I don't know how that works for y'all, but let's assume that you don't get off from penetration, because he can't get you off from penetration because he can only last 12 pumps, but he gets you to completion by fellatio.
Sweeney, it's Sunday.
That's why I'm trying to use the proper
I
term.
think Mistaken said that's good. As long as he's willing to.
So he's diversifying. He's diversifying. He's doing what it takes to get. Then he comes in with the finale strokes. Blow, you there?
Yeah, I made a video on 10 ways to last longer, and that's actually one of the things you got to be willing to. If you know that you're going to be a quick pump, then you have to be able to compensate her in
Your
other areas.
foreplay has to be
Uh,
on point.
Diversify.
I mean, like some women don't like. They just want to feel it. Some women just don't like it at all. And then I think getting hit. Some women don't like it.
Oh, but then there's other ways. You can wear protection. It takes away the sensitivity, which makes you last longer.
If we marry, you're not
called
putting no
Darwin
protection
his
on. I'm
tips.
sorry.
Okay, well then there's another way. You could use a numbing
He
agent.
got 10 at least, y'all. He
A
gonna keep
numbing
going.
agent takes away the sensitivity. Changing positions, putting a woman in a exhausting position where she has to use her legs could stop the intercourse occasionally and cause you to last longer. There's so many other ways.
I have a question. Like, on average, how long are y'all having sex? I mean, from foreplay to finishing. The like an estimate time. Like, how much time are y'all spending here?
I mean,
20 goddamn minutes.
On
We're going
average.
20 minutes to goddamn most.
It
I don't think
varies.
These
it's time.
motherfuckers
It's
talking this shit.
quality.
17
It's
minutes.
quality over quantity.
Shoot, I would
Look
argue
at that.
that's
Fuck.
It's
Hey,
yeah.
look,
It's
I don't fuck with what you said. I don't have no problem with. Look, if the dude ain't lasting, fucking get up. Who cares? I'm not trying to marry your ass anyway. I'm just trying to fuck. That's all.
No.
I don't give a fuck. Hey, if
How
you
does
don't get
that
enough when I
change?
get there, you better get one when I come back. And if you don't
Well,
ever
how
get
does
one,
that
fuck
change
off.
when you get married, Hank? If that's the
We're
way
not
that
talking
you've
about marriage.
practiced, no,
We're not
but I'm
talking about
saying,
We
well, that's
weren't
what I'm
talking
asking
about
you.
Yeah, we
marriage.
were.
What were
Hank,
you
they
looking
talking
at?
about
Guys?
somebody you love,
We were
man.
talking
Not
about
something.
marriage. So
Look
what I'm
here.
Somebody you
If
love.
you don't, if I'm gonna know how to please you before I get married anyway, regardless. I'm gonna test out the fucking car. I'm not going to non-test now. If I get a
That's
virgin,
bad advice,
then that's
man.
different. I'm gonna know how she works before
That's
I get in
all
there.
I was
All
asking
right.
for.
That's
that
bad.
All right.
doesn't
I'm
change
gonna say
Hold
this.
on.
I'll
Hold
say
on.
Yes,
this.
it
Real quick.
does.
All right, go ahead, go ahead.
You should
Let
leave
me.
me before we get married.
All right. Question, Hank.
Thank you,
If
Hank.
something, all right, but like to what Darwin was saying, Hank, if something's going on, I don't know, man. You know, Kobe don't hit shots every game. You know what I mean? Sometimes you have a bad game. If you notice,
Right.
there's a series of bad games, man, and them 12 pumps is on deck. You're diversifying. Am I correct? You're not just
If
gonna
I'm
go
with
in there.
You gonna get your beard dirty.
Yeah, you're not gonna just 12 pumps and faint, right? You're gonna
you asking me
diversify.
about my sex game, Jay? Is that what you
No.
asking?
What I'm saying, man, I'm asking for advice, bro. Like to a young man, to a young man who's
Ow.
what are you gonna do? How would
Yeah,
you?
you gotta hit the owl, man.
How would you
I
share?
tell that motherfucker. Let me tell you what you should already be getting your beard date anyway. You should be eating that ass too. But that's a different subject.
Whoa.
But let me say this.
Before marriage?
I'm
Before
gonna
marriage?
tell. Listen, we talking like grown men. What the fuck? Don't act like a child now,
Bro,
motherfucker.
you eat ass before
Don't
marriage?
act like a child now.
No,
It's all
bro.
man, look here. You supposed to devour your wife. What are you talking about?
Hold on, we talking
Everything's
about
fair
before
with
marriage,
you.
man.
There's not that much distance.
Hold on. Are we talking about before marriage or
No, we talking
after
about marriage. We talking about marriage. We talking about
Okay,
marriage.
then what the fuck
Oh, yeah,
is
yeah,
thou
you
talking
devour.
about
Yeah,
then?
you devour.
God damn, settle down, young blood. Learn something. You supposed to eat that ass. Everything's fair in love and war. Now, if you have a fucking problem where you going off in about 12 pumps, go get your ass a goddamn cock ring, motherfucker. Go to Cirillas or go on Adam and Eve and get your goddamn cock ring. Maybe that'll help your ass out. I don't know what to tell you. Think about a fat woman. Think about a goddamn fat woman while you fucking this heifer, and maybe that'll throw your game off. I don't know. Matter of fact, let me do you a solid. You want to last longer? Get about. You only can go 12. Go 8 pumps. Pull your shit out. Go down there and eat a pussy for a few minutes. Come back up. Stick your cock right back in that motherfucker, and go 8 more pumps and keep doing that until you can't do it no goddamn more.
Hey,
Thank you, Hank.
There's
Thank you,
also
bro.
something called edging, y'all. Like wait until you get to the edge and pulling back. It's the same muscles that you use to keep yourself from pissing or farting.
That's the fastest way to get somebody pregnant, bro.
Yo,
When
fellas,
you talking
man,
about the
if
wife,
Your wife,
yo,
what the fuck does it matter, Sweeney?
Hey, man, hey,
fellas,
no.
if y'all,
You have sex with your wife doesn't mean y'all want to have
y'all
a
should not be out here.
Well, then
Hey,
guess
Right.
what?
Fellas should
You
not
know
be
you
out
Tell,
here
know
in this sex
hey,
my
game.
tell her
fault,
ass to get on goddamn birth control, or you get a vasectomy. One of the two.
Well, he ain't got all the answers, boy.
Hey, Luis, to
My
answer your
bad,
question, real quick,
JR.
hey, I thought me and my wife thought we was running marathons until one day we recorded ourselves.
What?
They're like two goddamn wallers, didn't they?
Why you putting your business out there like that?
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Like we thought that our sex game was lasting about an hour and a half. That's what it felt like until you recorded yourself and you realize like
16 minutes.
15 minutes.
Yeah, honestly, I would
Oh,
really want people, I would really encourage people to take, have a stopwatch and really, and don't look at it, but just be conscious that it's going and really understand like how long the entire experience. And I don't want to I don't like, first and foremost, with people who are in relationship, I don't want to shortchange it. You know what I'm saying? Because there is a lot of built up. There is the close intimacy, the kissing, the holding hands, and the build up to it before you start taking off your clothes. And even that is a whole intimate unpacking within itself. And then the entire act, right? I don't want to shortchange it. But for people who are just getting to it from the beginning to end, a lot of people ain't doing that.
Are
Like
you
a whole,
projecting, Luis?
I'm
honestly,
sorry?
Are you projecting?
no,
No,
I
nah.
think that, I think when
Look, man, for me it's 45 minutes minimum, man. And that's what everything.
I think it's better. I think a quick satisfaction is way better than long disappointment. If you can get in there in 3 minutes and both of y'all can get y'all, that's beautiful. Now y'all can go take care of the kids and go handle business. But if you in there for 45 minutes trying to get it, oh my God.
Well, the thing about it is it's
Quality
also
over
a workout
quantity
too,
any
man,
day.
because you gotta, you know what I'm saying, you gotta be in every single position, you know what I'm saying? You gotta I do leg day 2 times a week, man. I gotta put these legs to work, man.
hey,
Hold
look,
on, whoa,
No,
I
pause, bro.
Darwin is correct, yo.
listen.
You,
If
I,
you
I,
know the
I
buttons,
think most women. I'm a guess out here. I think quality over quantity is any day. It's not really about how long you go. It's about how great it is. So if you can make it great in 5-10 minutes, great. If it's gonna take you a little longer, great. But like what you were saying, just going for the sake of going, just so you could be like, oh, I did it 2 hours. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, most women are not gonna be able to go that long anyway. After a while, you go too long, it start hurting.
if you
But
2 hours in, boy, you gotta use some air freshener, boy, because I know y'all sweating no bullets.
so,
I think a lot of people think
so it's really quality over quantity any day.
and I think that a lot of people think they go longer than they actually do. Like, I think when you in there, y'all both having a good time, y'all done flipped each other 16 times in 20 minutes. But it felt like an hour and a half to y'all. Both of y'all knock out the same, y'all go to sleep. Next thing you know, y'all. And I think that when you having fun, I think a lot of people, they mind just in the moment. And then you realize, like, nobody ever really realizes how short that moment actually is.
It's a
It's kind of like
time
the
warp.
opposite, it's kind of like the opposite effect of when you experience something that you're fearful of, and it seems like time slows down. I think sometimes that opposite effect can have, you know what I mean, can have that same opposite effect when you having a good time too. That time seems to, when you in that moment, time seems to slow down.
I went to Universal Studios and I was on a roller coaster. I swore it was like 2 to 3 minutes. It was called the uh, something Raptor. It's a brand new roller coaster. And then I went and watched it on VR on YouTube, and that ride is like 45 seconds. So I get what you're saying. So I was on that ride. I felt like forever when I was actually on the roller coaster. But when I watched the video, that roller coaster is not long at all. So I get it.
Yeah. That's why, like, I ain't gonna lie to y'all. That's why it came as such a surprise when we was like, man, we did all that in 20 minutes. Oh shit.
I will say I did learn something today. I never knew that some women don't like you to go down there and eat the box. It must be a new generation or some shit.
I know somebody like that.
Or old one.
Also, too, let's be honest, man. People also got to be mindful of their diet. A lot of people out here are not eating well, and you are what you eat. Because if you don't eat good, you don't taste good.
Eat that.
What about that? I've
She
heard
eat 3 bowls of Captain Crunch. Yeah,
Good
you
for the
might not
soul.
want to go there.
Good for the soul.
Yeah. What? Wait, what? 3 bowls of Captain Crunch.
Just for somebody who's, I don't know who said that, but if you, I mean, just for most women, all of that position flipping is really for you, not for them. Because once you in that zone, just the slightest move sometimes can throw a woman off, and she has to start all over, kind of.
About that.
So all that position flipping, if you're trying to flip 16,
right.
20 different ways,
Consistency, just being consistent and letting her get to a climax is way better than y'all wondering why y'all fellas struggle to get y'all woman to climax.
So in the end, I was not wrong for saying I'm not going to the altar with the dude that I don't feel like satisfies
No,
me.
you are wrong. If you let that man bust you down, you should be going to the altar. And y'all need to work on that.
Darwin, stop it. I was trying to sit there and look all innocent.
Like you ain't telling me.
Whatever.
You better work with that dude. Figure it out.
Yeah,
You work with
a
somebody
man.
for 6
I'm
months,
telling you,
they ain't
men are working with
listening.
women on so many aspects. When y'all come up short, we willing to work with y'all, take y'all to the altar too. So y'all can do the same for us.
Now, you know, if a guy was coming up here talking about some, yeah, man, I've been smashing this one chick, but man, she can't do XYZ, right? So I'm, you know what I mean? I ain't fucking with her like that. I ain't taking her to no altar. You'll be like, boy, then leave her the fuck alone or something like that.
No, I would be like, you should be able to work with her, show her.
Cookie's vows will be edited.
All types of grace. You know, you shouldn't be treating her like that just because to work with her. Tell her what you want, this, that, and the third. But you can't be out here busting that girl down and not wanting and not being serious about it.
Oh yeah, I think I heard
your vows will be edited insane.
You gotta shake your head. You know I'm right.
Well, I just want to ask this question. Man.
Who said?
I just want to ask this question because I mean, clearly, like our generation is toasted, right? But as we look to the future of the people that's coming behind us, like what are we telling our daughters? Are we telling her to test it out, or are we telling her to make sure she better guy, properly get married, and then?
I would tell my daughter that sex is not something that should be tested in order to qualify for marriage. It shouldn't be part of the vetting process. Because sometimes you can have some good days and sometimes you can have some bad days. I would tell her to look at more things on a spiritual level. You know what I'm saying? Are y'all evenly yoked? You know, is he a leader? You know, look for those things. And you might find that he might not be good in bed whenever y'all first, you know, touch each other or whatever. But later on in the marriage, he might be the best thing because y'all love each other till enough to where y'all got so connected. Y'all was willing to work on those things and find different remedies to make y'all connection much stronger. And I think if we use that as a filter, then we're gonna be doing ourselves a disservice, and then we're gonna be eliminating ourselves from many chances to have a meaningful relationship just because of sex. When one could argue that sex shouldn't even be on the table whenever you consider marriage. You should be doing it afterwards. But we all know people gonna do it before. But if you're gonna do it before, please just don't make that a qualifier. You can most definitely work on that thing. There's therapists, sex therapists that are willing to work with you, that y'all can come together and figure it out. So don't just make that a deal breaker. Especially if he's hitting on all other angles aspects of the relationship, and then that's the one thing. Just don't screw yourself out of a meaningful relationship.
You want to respond?
People are making life decisions over 20 minutes in a day, 2 times a week.
Dr. Hank is taking consultation.
Hey, Cookie, you want to respond?
Well, no, I was just doing my
Well,
normal,
I
making my
mean,
faces.
okay.
Huh?
What they call you, Cookie?
My mom ate Oreos with me when she was pregnant. She had an addiction to Oreos. My mom called me Cookie was born before I was born. Any other questions? I bet I
So,
can.
what advice are we telling? Would you tell your daughter?
I tell my daughter to find someone and get married as soon as possible, and but make sure her dad is he meets her dad and that her dad approves, and that they're friends because I feel like that's very important. And
As far as sex, what are you telling?
as far as sex, I don't tell her not to do it. I just tell her if she's going to do it to be careful because telling a teenager not to do something is pretty much just um, inviting them to curiosity. So I would leave that up to her father to tell her why she shouldn't be doing it. I would not specifically tell her not to do it. Well, I co-parent with her father, so
Okay, but you are okay with her waiting to after marriage.
yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. I just don't think I'm not. Why would I be the one tell her that? And I'm not married, and I have her.
Well, I mean, you grown now. I just want to know what it's looking like for the future.
Oh
So
yeah, no, 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 no.
I just want
I
to
tell my
know
daughter every day, do not be me. Don't be me. Go talk to your dad, and go seek advice. But as far as being
So you wouldn't be
not marrying
upset
her
if she did
father,
give it
no,
up
I wouldn't.
because
I
she was
told her I
after
wouldn't
you.
recommend that for her, huh?
But you wouldn't be upset if she was able to, if she happened to give in because she been following behind you.
Would she be following behind me? I didn't date. I didn't date until my daughter got grown. I
No, I'm
literally am
saying I'm talking about
41
as
and
far
single
as
because I didn't date.
if she did give in to having sex before marriage, you wouldn't be mad because it would be hypocrite, or it would be her excuse probably would be, okay, well, mama, you did it when you were young, so
You know what's crazy? I don't have that type of daughter, but if she slipped up, um, I know her father would get involved and be upset. I would be upset. I would be more disappointed than I would say upset because I've instilled in her since a young age the way that she's had the foundation that she needs. I have not been a single mother, so I don't consider myself a single mother. So I would be very disappointed if that was to happen, but I would not stone her at the fucking bury up to her neck and stone her because it happened either. We just figure out what the next move would be and try to give her the support system she needs. But she's pretty level headed though.
I think you guys made a good point. Just for a little small dialogue, but it'd be hard for our children to take advice from us, knowing that we are still participating in the same behavior that we're telling them not to do. It's one thing to been to have done it, but have you ever overcame it? And if you overcame it, then what does that life look like for you as an individual, as a representation moving forward? Like I've been guilty of making a lot of mistakes. And so when I sit down and I talk to my son, I'm not really mad if he does some of the things that I've done, or I may have a different conversation with him and say, look, what I was doing was all wrong, or what I've done is wrong. So
Hmm.
this is what I'm inspiring to do and what I'm trying to focus on now. I do want you to be better than me, but understand that this was incorrect. So when you see me now, you're going to see a different versions of me because I got it. I got the game. I got the information. I got the correction later. But you have the opportunity to be able to get it now because you're still young. And I don't want you to make the same mistakes that I've made as a man. And so those are the type of conversations that I'm having with my 18-year-old, like my little youngin'. I think he will probably have a better example because let's just be real. Some folks get it late. Like some folks don't have the opportunity. Some folks just had to teach themselves or they didn't have good examples. So, once you get it, the key is being able to start applying it. And if it makes logical sense, then I think that it is your duty to make it make sense, to fit it in your life, and to be that example. So if you know you've been doing wrong, it's the wrong thing. Even as an adult, your kids are still looking at you. So even if you say I'm grown and I raised them, they're still looking at the decisions that you make because they've always looked up to you. And even if you're grown, they still look up to you. So like, what type of person are you? And I think if you have serious conversation explaining the differences as far as how you learn, I think that they can understand that you are human and that you're striving to do better. So I think my conversation is different. That's why I think we need to continue talking to our children and not just hand them off to the world, because they may have missed a lot of stuff just like us. And if they missed it and you caught on to it later, that means that you missed in your teaching. So now you got to go back and make sure that you try to reel them back in, because they may be on a path that they may not necessarily tell you that they own. They may be out here living foul. Your child can be, as let me use Chicago Rilla words, a slut monkey. You don't even know it.
Jay, I had a question for you.
Go ahead.
So, because I know we like the, you know what I mean? Because it's true that we been through it, or sometimes we've actively participated in behaviors and we try to be the example for our kids. What do you say to the kid that doesn't see anything wrong with what you're doing? Like they look at it as a, like, man, like for like a son, he see his dad out there knocking him down left and right, and he like, and his dad's telling him, don't do what I did, but to your son, that what your dad is doing looks cool.
Yeah, but it's still wrong because his dad told him it was
So,
wrong.
well, here's the thing: you got to get some context. You got to get some explanation behind it. So, even when we have conversations with others, we disagree. Two things need to happen. You got to be willing to listen and willing to accept the possibility that I may have gotten it wrong, I may be doing it wrong, and I'm willing to change. If that person they don't have that open mind like that, then they're not going to be able to receive anything that you're saying. They're just going to keep doing it their way because they feel that this is the right way. So, and then you have to be able to give them examples or break it down to them so that it makes logical sense. I like to always apply logic and not emotion. So when I explain things, and one of the examples I use is that, like, we always had these discussions about the community. And one of the things that I had to understand as a man, that if I'm not, because all men may not be able to gauge how they are with women. I know how I am with women, right? And so I know for the most part, I'm able to achieve whatever it is that I want when it comes to a woman. So if I don't have any good intentions with a woman, then to me, in my opinion, I'm part of the problem, because I know what this woman wants, but I'm failing to give her because I'm just not ready to give her whatever it is that I'm not willing to give her whatever it is that she's trying to achieve. So if I refrain from interacting and engaging, then I'm doing my part as far as not messing up the community. But if I'm out here and I'm being foul, I'm being reckless, then I'm contributing to creating broken homes, trauma with women, and so forth. So I think one of the things is that, I don't even know where I was going with this, but you guys get the picture, right?
Yeah, you gotta have context. You can't just tell a kid no.
Yeah. That's what it was there. Yeah, you got to have context as far as why you shouldn't do things this way, right? So, like, one of the things that I stress to my child is the importance of keeping the nuclear family together, because when you don't have everybody on the same page in the same household, when there's not no structure, then you can cause a lot of challenges as parents and as children when you guys are just being reckless and y'all don't have a nuclear family. So it's easier to explain to somebody and to get them to understand if you can articulate it in a way where it makes sense to them.
I don't know if it's a man thing or woman thing, but I like your response better, because I noticed Cookie said she wouldn't tell her daughter no, she shouldn't have sex. I'd rather her tell her no and give her context behind it. You get what I'm saying? Now, I don't know if that's the reason why a lot of men should want to be in the kids' life, because if women are moving like that, I'm not trying to paint all women with the same brush, but it's some contrast when you hear it coming from a man's voice. Even though he's done the things and made those mistakes, he's still going to tell his son, no, don't do it, but give context behind it because he might think it's cool. Versus a woman's response on this panel is, hey, I'm not going to tell you no, don't have sex. And we all know that's a wrong way to guide the kids.
Well,
First and foremost, nope, let me answer my own reply, please. First and foremost, Darwin, don't come for me. That's not a good thing to do. Second of all, the reason I said that the way that I said that was because my child has a father. Okay? Just like I had a father. So I leave certain things to her father. I was the one that ended up getting pregnant, having a baby in college. I could have easily done something different, but I didn't. I chose to have my child, and he respected that. We chose to co-parent. When my father was alive, my father was in her life. I believe in a hierarchy in a family. Do I tell my daughter to be careful? Do I tell my daughter about do I educate my daughter? Absolutely. But the way you phrase the question, would I tell my, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I'm going to send her to her dad because the relationships between two women, a woman and her son, a man and his daughter, and a man and his son, they're all absolutely completely different. Okay? So just like I said, I spent the better years of my life raising my daughter. There weren't men coming in and out of my house. She didn't see mommy flooding herself out. That's not how that worked. I spent my life single. The only man she saw me interact with was her father, and we weren't even together. All right, that's number one. That's why she's gonna be able to go to him and get information from him. I have talked with my daughter about the safety and how she does not want to end up not married with a child. Those are the things that I talked to her about.
So you trust her that with the amount of safety that you've given her, that she'll be able to use the right discernment to keep herself.
Absolutely, not with just me though. You're only putting
She got her
me
father
in it.
too, yeah.
Yeah. It was me. It was her aunties. It was her grandmother, her grandfather, who I lived with until I was 27. I lived with my parents with her. Her father. That's what I'm saying. So it's a village raised my child.
So for the record, to have the right understanding, let me get this straight. But because you still move a certain way without being married, as far as sex, that is the reason why you don't want to be a hypocrite. So you send her to her
No, I'm
father
talking
to get
about what
the
happened back in the day. I'm talking about what happened in college. She has to go really do some real digging. The way I moved back then, when I was her age, I don't feel like I am qualified to tell her how to move
Well,
at 19.
and that's the reason why Lapeef said if you don't overcome it, I think he stated if you're able to overcome the bad behavior, you can.
What bad behavior? I see that's where you got me mixed up with other people on the panel.
No,
And you're
what I'm saying
assuming
is,
something about me.
okay, what I'm saying is, okay,
What bad behavior?
some may think bad behavior is just
Don't
having
say
sex
some,
and
say
not being
you.
married. Some may think that that's bad behavior, having sex for no intention, not being engaged or married. So what I'm saying is, what JR was saying, if you were able to overcome that and let's say get married, then you'll feel more comfortable telling your daughter, hey,
No, I still wouldn't. If I had a husband right now, I still wouldn't tell my daughter at 19 that, hey, you shouldn't be having sex. And she 19 and can do the math like, but wait, bitch, you was having sex. So that's just how females are. So I'm
and
gonna
that's why I
send her
said,
to her
and you made my
dad
point. That's
who
why
has the
hold on.
authority over her.
You made my point. You said that's how females are, and that's why before I stated what I was saying, it must be a man thing and a woman thing. This might be a different because
It
hearing it come from
is.
a man,
I
and
agree with
that's
you
all I
on
was
that.
saying. Men are
But
Yeah.
teaching their daughters different than women are
but
teaching.
Darwin, even
No,
if you say
when
that, if a
daughters view
woman
their
finds
mothers
somebody
different.
that they are in love with, no matter what teaching you give them, no matter how you say keep yourself pure, you're especially in this day and age, that's not necessarily going to be the thing that's going to prevent them from having sex.
Well, I
What,
wasn't saying
but what, no,
saying that you
hold
should
on,
say
hold on.
it.
But what partly of what Cookie is saying is, I'm going to be honest about the fact that regardless of what her dad tell her, or even I tell her, at the age that she is now, she's free to do whatever she does. So the best approach in having conversation with her is to at least give her the talk about, like, make sure you protect yourself, make sure you're not out there just giving it up all willy-nilly or whatever. Those are the kind of conversations she's going to have, because she has to be realistic. If we look at the stats, and then even for her saying, using her own life experience, she didn't wait till she was married. So I'm going to give her advice based on my personal experience to say, talk to your dad so you can get this side of it from a male perspective. And then you and I will talk based on a female perspective. And what I can appreciate with having my husband, kind of like what Cookie was saying, with having my husband here, both of us had conversations with sex conversations with our son and our daughter. And at times it was together. It wasn't even separate, because it would be some things that he would say that I know he's coming from a male perspective, and talking to my daughter, where I was able to give her the female perspective of the aspect of the emotional aspect of sex that my husband ain't gonna even be able to relate to, because that experience for him isn't the same. And the same thing with my son. He's going to experience sex differently. And I was able to give him a hindsight. Is like, yo, when you do this, this is what the girl goes through in this situation. Like. So be mindful of these things as well. I know you
Okay,
may
so let me see if I can.
So,
Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can Let me see if I can give you what I'm thinking, and why this can seem kind of toxic or wrong in the way of teaching these kids. So basically, for example, it's like, okay, and that's why I said it may be a man or woman thing. A men are saying, okay, here's the rules. Don't break them. In the context and what JR was doing is giving them context behind why you shouldn't break them. That is how men are doing it. And the reason why he's saying don't break them is because he's actually following the rules, although he may have broke them 20 years ago. Now that he's living the word or walking in the rules, he's able to convey that and give context behind it. Versus y'all angle or approach to it is, here are the rules. If you decide to break them, because I know today, typically at your age, you're going to break them, just make sure that you do it this way and you're safe about it, or you cater to this so you don't get in trouble. And I think that's the contrast between what a man is doing with his logical thinking and saying, don't break the rules. This is why you shouldn't break them. This is what happened to me. Don't break them. Absolutely no. And a woman is saying, I'm not going to tell her no, because I know she's a teenager, and that's just going to give her curiosity, and she's going to want to do it anyway. So instead of telling her no, just wear a condom or practice safe sex, or sort of like that.
Well, I would say for me, we started talking to our kids very young, trying to create an environment where they can come to us about anything, whether it was drugs, sex, whatever. So we started very young. So by the time they got to the age where, especially now, they have all of this access to sex in terms of on social media, commercial, they're exposed to way more stuff regarding sex than we were at their age. So that was part of our plan, is to get to them about it before they get to other avenues about it, and then try to learn from that. So when they did have questions, some of the questions were specifically about mechanics or, the physiological aspect. So it wasn't just don't have sex. This is why, because you're going to have a high body count and guys ain't going to want to be with you. You know what I'm saying? That the conversations had to go way deeper than that, because sex is just not necessarily about the high body count. You know what I'm saying? So as a man, you're going to give that conversation to your girl, because that's, as a man, what you're going to be looking at, because that's your experience. But from a general perspective of the physical aspect of sex, the emotional aspect of sex, why you should wait until you marry, what's the benefit of doing that. Those conversations are also had as well. But what you don't want to do is have a conversation, because that's how we grew up in my household. Very Christian based.
Better
We
not.
was told not to, and the reason not to was because, you know, God says that this is, you know, you save yourself before marriage, and that was our answer. So they explained why. My mom was an example of that. She didn't, you know, she was a virgin when she got married. She did it the right way, in a way she was telling us, but at the same time, we didn't necessarily follow in that footstep. What would have been beneficial if given us the reason, and hers was on a biblical aspect of it, which was great. But there was also questions just in general that you have about sex in general, whether you're doing it or not. The curiosity, like alone, will have you asking questions. And we did not feel like we could go to our parents and have those conversations. So where do you go when you're trying to learn, or, you know, you watch something, or you listen to what somebody else your age said, and they don't know half of nothing either. So you're getting misinformation. So the goal is you as a father to say no and explain, and even give your example. Yeah, you know, I moved like this when I was younger, but you know, these are the consequences that came from that. I don't want you moving that. I want you to be a better man than I was, or a better woman than I was. But then you also still have that additional conversation of, don't do it, but if you're not going to listen to me, these are the consequences. But I'd rather you protect yourself than end up in a situation where you're having a kid out of wedlock. And that's to the boy or the girl. Just because he may not bring the baby home, he's still having a kid out of wedlock. So those conversations still need to be had with both the girl and the boy, and explain how to make sure you don't make that happen outside of abstaining from sex.
Yeah, my daughter's village works as a cohesive. Her daddy is definitely telling her no.
I guess.
So the answer. So let me answer Sweeney's original question, because God damn.
Hold on, Henry. Answer that question. I wanted to address what Mistaken said real quick.
Oh man, because it's gonna get long-winded again, and I ain't gonna never get the goddamn answer. Fuck that shit.
30 seconds, bro. I promise you.
The answer won't be 30 seconds though.
Oh, yes, it will. My response is gonna be 30 seconds. All right. To Bruiser's point, it's almost as if, like, to kind of what he's trying to get y'all to understand, it's like us telling our son, don't rob a bank. But if you feel like you want to rob a bank, here's how to not get caught.
No, here's the consequences of robbing a bank.
Well, no, but that's what I'm saying, because the thing is that we can tell them, don't rob a bank because you're going to go to jail. That's the natural consequence of robbing a bank, just like we would tell our young girls the consequences of having children out of wedlock, doing everything out of wedlock. But when you're offering prescriptions to it, you're saying essentially, hey, you'll go to jail if you rob a bank, but if you're going to rob a bank anyway, here's how to handle that, or here's how to navigate that so that you don't experience the consequences of it.
Here's how to not get caught. Here's the underground code.
He trying to get in there. This is what he was afraid of, the response.
Exactly. God damn y'all motherfuckers. So the original questions that you asked, if a man was doing something, but he knows it's not right, but he's trying to tell his son not to do, as a father, as a man, you should change your ways. Change what you're doing. If he's sitting there, you know it's bad. You know it's bad what you're doing, but yet you still doing it. He sees and he's praising you for that shit. Then I need to do something different as a man, as a father, as an example for my son. I can't keep doing that same a lifestyle that I know I don't want my son to do. So because that's one of our problems as Black people, is do as I say, not as I do. We've done that. And it's not a good example for us as fathers, as leaders, as men. We got to show them something different. So if I'm doing shit that I know's wrong and he's praising me for it, said, Dad, I like what you're doing. That's bullshit. Then I need to change. I got to show him something different. That's got to be the go-to move. I can't keep doing the same bad thing that I know I don't want my son to do. And if I don't show him something different and he continue that same bad behavior, I can't fault nobody but myself.
And if your parents is raising you in the word and the scripture and they're telling you, hey, don't do this because that's what the Bible say, and this is why you shouldn't do it. And if you still trying to go look for the reasoning or why, you're probably looking on ways to get around it. That's what it is. You got the word, you got the doctrine, you got the right from wrong, you know the consequences. They told you not to do it, but now you want to use other means and go talk to other people. You don't feel comfortable talking to your parents about it because they're gonna tell your ass no. What did I say? The reason why you go talk to other people or you venture off into other research because you still want to figure out how to still do it and maintain your dignity or not feel guilty about it. You still want to bust it open.
So let me ask you a question, Sweeney. I mean, Sweeney, well, the guys in general. So if you're having this conversation with your daughter, right, and you're just saying the answer as a man is going to be no, don't do it. This is why you shouldn't. And the conversation stops there, right? Now, when you're having the conversation using that same ideology, your son shouldn't be just busting it wide open all willy-nilly with various women. How are you having that conversation with your son? Are you just going to say, don't be busting it wide open with all of these women willy-nilly, and then you're just going to stop the conversation there?
Well,
or will that conversation, there will be some context added to that?
I would say that the logic would be the same. If I'm telling my son, these are the rules, don't violate the rules because these are the consequences of your rules. I'm not going to then give you prescriptions for what happens if you violate to curb the consequences of the rules. I'm going to give you the rules. Now, do we have different rules for our sons and versus our daughters? Possible. A lot of us don't. A lot of us do. But just to kind of to Bruce's point, he's given the rules and he's telling you don't violate the rules because of the consequence. But if you follow the rules, everything that comes out of the other end will be positive for you. So as long as you follow the rules, you're good. But he's not willing to give prescriptions to you violating the rules. He just wants you
you're not going to buy condoms for your, because I hear guys say this all the time. Guys have their conversations with their sons, buy condoms for them, all of those things. That's giving the prescription based on what you're saying. You're saying don't bust it wide open, but son, here goes some condoms. So you may
I didn't never say that. I don't know what man on this panel does, but if men are doing that, that's them, how they train. But me personally, I'm not buying my son no condoms after telling him not to have sex. It's a contradiction. I'm not going to try to give him safety measures on how to deviate from my word. I'm going to say, hey, look, don't do this. And if you decide to go do it, you go buy the condoms. He going to go buy the condoms. If I know he's buying condoms, then I know he's deviating from the word. I'm not going to give him the recipe to go and break the rules that I'm giving him.
Exactly. That was the whole point of why I used the bank analogy is to understand that he's saying this is the rule, don't violate the rule. Not a sense, I get what y'all are saying, but he's saying I'm not gonna help you violate how to navigate violating the rules. Don't violate the rules. That's why I use the bank analogy.
I think we all saying the same
and it's
thing.
clearly it's a difference between the way man and women.
I think Balance trying to get in there, y'all. She ain't saying it. Go ahead, Balance.
I don't know if you guys noticed my name today. Y'all see my hat down there. It says Balance Discipline. I'm all about discipline. And I think that's what's wrong with this current generation and why we have this moral decay is because a lot of single mothers are raising their children without discipline. And that is the issue that we're having. And now we have these grown men who were raised by mothers who didn't discipline them. And that's why society is decaying the way it is. These children need discipline. They need the men. And a lot of times, I think sometimes you maybe need to send the kids to live with the men that will discipline them. These kids lack discipline, and that is what we're seeing. I agree with everything the men are saying on this subject right here. I mean, I think the women baby their kids too much, especially in our culture. They're babying the girls and the boys. They're babying them, and they don't give them enough discipline, and they're just living reckless and doing whatever they want. And they wonder why we have the society where the men are impregnating the women and then they're going on to the next one over and over and over because there's no discipline and there's no consequence. Because when this happens, what's the consequence of them just doing this to a woman and leaving? I mean, morality, you know, spiritually, there are consequences, but I'm talking about in the physical, there's always somebody that's just the next woman waiting for them. It's always gonna be another woman waiting for them. And it happens over and over and over in the society. It's like we're babying the men and the women are babying the men. And I'm just tired of seeing it, honestly. I think we as a culture need to bring back morality. We need to bring back discipline. And the fathers need to discipline the children without the mothers getting in the way. I just had to say that. I was holding that for a minute, and
Man, I like the New Balance and discipline.
this
Bro.
is not even new. You have not been here Sunday. This is not new.
And I think we're confusing things because just because we're talking about this as far as sexual sex when it comes to our daughter doesn't mean we're having the same conversations with our sons. And it doesn't necessarily mean that same conversation has to be had with our sons. All I was just pointing to the logic behind it. I'm not saying one way or the other who you should say this to or you shouldn't. I'm just explaining the logic behind it. And he's basically saying that, hey, look, if you're telling your daughters not to do it, just tell her to. That's the logic that we go by. Just to say, like, regardless of if we tell our sons, regardless of what the conversation about, take sex out of it, we tell them don't do this because this is going to happen to you if you do it. We just expect them not to violate the rules. We're not going to give them prescriptions on what to curb the consequences of the violating the rules. We just going to tell you not to violate them. Now, that's why I was just take sex out of it, because you wouldn't do that for your daughter. You wouldn't say, hey, I don't advise you to cheat on the test because you're going to get expelled from school if you get caught. But if you're going to cheat, go use what is that damn website we all used to use to cheat? If you're going to cheat, cover up your paper and kind of use a mirror to catch your friend. That way your teacher don't catch you. You're just going to say, don't cheat.
But I don't
Let me
think
ask you
twisted my
gentlemen a
words.
question.
There's consequences
That's
to
nowhere near
everything
fucking
you
close to what I said. And y'all can speak for y'all own little ratchet children, because my daughter is fine. She's
We're
a
not talking.
student. She was always been busy. No, fuck that. She's always been busy. She's a stellar athlete. She has always been busy. She's a good child. I have a location on my daughter sends me her location. She sent me Life 360, so I'll know where she is at all times. How many 19-year-olds about to be 20 do that? Please miss me with that bullshit. I don't know that life. I was raised in a disciplined household with a military father who also had his hands in raising my daughter, as her father did, who was also, and his dad was military. So I don't know what the fuck everybody in here talking about and whining about. My nephews and my daughter don't act that way. So, and if they do, they know there's repercussions for it, because dads and mothers and aunties are in the picture. That's why I say it takes a village. So whoever getting in the way, whoever is doing in the discipline part, there has to be some emotion attached. Because when all you do is tell a child no, 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 without explaining to them. I'm a teacher. I do that. You have to explain to kids these days, because of their access to knowledge, like Ms. Taken said, why you're telling them fucking no. If you don't
We
do
did.
that,
We
they're
agreed
gonna
to that.
just
We
be
just didn't
that.
want
Well,
to compromise.
pause. I didn't interrupt nobody else. If you keep telling them no without a reason, just because I said so, keep playing.
Nobody said
That
that.
generation is the single mom generation that y'all complaining about.
Nobody said that. Nobody said because I
Get the
said
fuck out of
so.
here. I'm
Who,
done. The game on.
who
Bye,
said
JR.
that?
I'm not rage quitting. I gave y'all a whole half. It is halftime, and I'm going to watch the national championship game. Y'all have
Well,
a good day with this BS. I love y'all. Bye.
so Cookie taking this as a personal attack. It's not a personal attack on her. And nobody said say no because I said so. We clearly stated the reasons why we would tell them not to do it. That's explaining it. All we
But
simply
Sweeney,
said was that,
when you ask her what she would do for a kid, now you bringing it personal though, dog. That's what she's talking about when you bring it personal.
who brought it personal to it? Oh, it was Bruiser that said ask
Yes,
a
it
person.
was, dog. You asked what would you do for your daughter. That's what you did. So when you did
JR phrased the question and said, what do we tell our daughters and our sons?
regardless of who did it, once you bring it about the kids, it's going to make it personal. So you know how certain individuals take it when you bring it personal. They just can't handle shit like that. You got to remember who your audience is.
And I want to say, I wasn't speaking to Cookie directly. I was speaking in general about our culture of today. I just wanted to add that, not to Cookie specifically, but I believe that kids do what you do, not what you say. So you have to be a living example of that. So my
I
goal is
agree
to be
with that.
an example for my children, not just don't do this. It's like, I'm not doing it because of this. You don't do it because of this.
Or be a living example why not to do it.
I don't want to.
And that's
I don't want to do
and
The part that y'all are missing is
I agree
that
with you. And that's why when you gave that example, Sweeney, I sit there and told you, you have to change. I have to change my lifestyle. I can't continue to do that bullshit and sit there and tell my son, he think cool. No, dog, it's not cool. It's not for real. I can't be out here selling drugs talking about that's cool. You making all the money. No, dog, it's not. Because I'm taking penitentiary chances every time I go outside, taking a chance on getting my life ended or taking a chance on going to prison forever. No, I can't keep doing that. I got to show him something different. So when y'all sit there and talk about, you got to give the kid all aspects, like Cookie said. I agree with that part what Cookie said with kids. I taught for a substitute teacher for 5 years, and I can't just sit there and say no. And they going to walk, why? So now I got to give them an explanation. I can't just keep giving them why. I mean, just because I said so, That's bullshit. That's the shit we grew up on. And we know that shit didn't fucking work all the goddamn time. Because guess what? We did just the opposite.
Exactly.
But I think
and I agree with what Hink is saying and what Balancing is saying as well. And when you're giving,
You disagree with me.
I don't agree with the fact that you're giving them a prescription to go and do it. And I think that was some of the old school thinking, is that even if I have the conversation about sex or around sex, then that means I'm giving them permission to have sex. And what ends up happening is you create an environment where your kids don't come to you to ask questions. They find the information somewhere else and end up not doing what you told them to do and live. Because like I said, my mom, my grandfather was a preacher. I grew up in the church, right? And all of my mom kids, none of us were virgins when we got married. You know what I'm saying? Actually, 2 of us ended up having kids out. Well, no, 3 of us. 3 of us had kids before we got married. We married our partners who we had kids with, but we still didn't do it the way that we were taught and the way that it was also shown. So for me, living in the generation in which I raised my kids, I knew I had to do something different. So I did what JR said. I don't want you to do what I did. These are the consequences of what I did. These are the consequences that could happen. But if you are, I have to be realistic. I want to make sure that you don't make the same or end up with the same consequences that I did. So here is, make sure you protect yourself, having the conversations about why you shouldn't really be out there like that anyway. Do it differently. Do it better than than I did or your dad did. And having those conversations early on, and like you said, living the example, but giving a well-rounded response. My son got married at 21. He still don't have kids. He's taking care of his wife on his own. He's financially providing for his family. My daughter is 28. She don't have any children yet. She's in a relationship where they're about to get engaged. She's in church. So those conversations matter. The seeing the example matter, but also giving all of the information matters. You make better decisions when you have more information.
I don't think we're speaking as far as saying, I don't think neither me or Bruce are saying the whole because I said so culture. That's totally different from what we're saying. We're not saying don't do this. Why? Because I said so. We're saying don't do this. Why? Because you can go to jail. You can do this. This can happen to you. That's going to happen to you. That's going to happen to you. And it's almost inevitable that it's going to happen to you. So if you don't want these things to happen to you, probably don't do it. What he's speaking against is saying that if he's giving his child advice not to do something, he's not going to say, well, don't do it because these things have happened to you. But if you just so happen to do it, here's how you curve the response. Here's how you avoid the consequences of those actions. He's basically saying, don't do it because this is going to happen to you if you do it. And that's the end of it. He doesn't, you know what I mean? He's not trying to offer the prescriptions for if you violate.
All right,
let me tell you,
no way to get around.
You got to go deeper than that. I'm telling my son, because the reason I'm telling you not to do it, because I did that dumb shit. I was a teenage father. I had my daughter when I was 20 years old. Dude, it's not a great decision. I would not recommend you to be in college having a child. It makes no sense, dog. I promise you. You don't want them problems. Have to now question yourself if you can continue to go to college or drop out of college and start working and providing for that your child. That's not the decision you want to be in right now, dog. You got too much ahead of you. Got to be straight up and honest. Not only give them examples of that's not good, this is the reason why. True life examples will resonate way more than you just say, well, this is why I wouldn't do it because you can go to jail. Everybody knows you can go to jail if you break fucking laws. Kids know that shit. Give them real life example. This is why, because daddy did this dumb shit. I was a fool for making these mistakes. I was a fool for doing this.
Why? Because
dude, did you just not hear what I just said?
No, I'm saying, if you're doing the exact same thing that Bruiser just said. For example, all right.
No, he didn't say give an example. He said, well, don't do this because of this and this and this.
That's what
he didn't
happened
say,
to
well,
you.
No, I clearly said if you give them the context on why they shouldn't do it, and be absolute about not doing it. Don't give them the recipe on how to safely break the rules in case they get tempted or nothing. Leave that up to the devil to do that.
No, he's not doing the same thing I'm
doing. Working 24. Hold on, real quick. The devil is working 24 hours a day of giving y'all remedies, telling y'all to go use condoms, telling women to go use birth control. It's all fucked up. You should just tell them not to. You don't want to be the one that gave them a way to navigate breaking the rules.
For example, if you tell your son don't have because let's assume that you okay with your son having sex, right? But you tell him you better not have no babies. Well, why can't I have any babies? Well, because look at my life. I had you at an early age. I struggled with this. It could cause this much issues. It could do this, and this for you. But to Bruce's point, but if you do happen to have a baby, here's how you can get away with not having to take care of it. Where you don't have to experience the consequence that I experienced by having a baby. He's just saying that in this conversation, if he was talking about don't have sex, he's stopping it at sex. But it's the same thing can apply no matter how far you go with telling somebody not to do something. If you start offering them ways to curb the consequences of the responsibilities of it, because the natural consequence of having sex, especially, could be making babies. But you're saying, well, if you don't have babies because don't have sex because you can have babies. But if you're gonna have sex to avoid having babies, wear a condom. When the real goal is to tell them not to have sex.
Because if you tell them the ways to navigate it, then what they're gonna do is just figure out a way to navigate it and do it that way.
Again, we always go back to having babies. Fuck having babies. What about that fucking STD you could deal with that could last way longer than that fucking child? That's my issue. That's what I would tell my son to avoid, catching an STD. You keep thinking that baby gonna eventually grow up and be on his own. Cool. What if you get an STD that a penicillin can't fucking cure, Sweeney?
No, same thing. Don't have.
No, it's not the same thing, no. It's not the same.
No, I'm saying my argument.
We gotta close out, y'all. We gotta close out.
Don't have sex because you can catch a disease. But if you don't want to catch a disease, take these pills beforehand, and they can save you from having a disease. But you can still go out there and have sex unprotected. That's what Bruce
hear me tell you. I'm talking about a disease that can't be cured by penicillin, not even a shot of a fucking pill, sweetie.
No.
All right, let's go ahead and get to these super chats real quick, man.
You're right, Jay. My bad.
Yeah, KP $5 says, ooh, so the piece of paper is a woman's leverage to keeping her man within marriage. You leave, your nuts is mine. KP again says, balance keeping your feelings on him, not his child. KP again, $5 says, why is it when men voice how they feel, they hate you, then those women are allowed to publicly, what's that say, castrate us for different point of views? I love my black women. KP, again, said mistaken. You want to be around everyone that agrees. Ender Black Dragon, $2 says term is called digmatized, and I've heard that And the dragon again says sex is the highest form of prayer between man and woman in the act of creation. This is the process of creating life, which is a reflection of God. Leah says, Cookie, you look beautiful. And Theo is watching and he knows his D is a bonus. And why don't they ever listen to you, Queen? You're honest, sis. And the black dragon again says sex is severely underrated. Intimacy is what keeps marriage healthy between husband and wife. A sexless marriage lacks passion and desire. Cheating. And the black dragon, typically 2 hours, with extended foreplay in between positions. Leah says, I love you, Hink, Mank, character, energy. KP, $2 says, Hink, eat pig feet. That's why it's performance. That's why it's performance drug. KP says, Bruiser, you went from fashion to ass therapist. KP again, $2 says, Cookie, put some hearts up for good nookie. Leah says, future looking bright for hours at me. Leah says, if you're not paying for comments, go on somewhere talking about my big sis Cookie. We could pay all day. I love you, Hink and Cookie. Leah says, get them, Cookie. Man, they just don't know you. And lastly, Leah again says, okay, Amanda Seals agreeing with the men. Go off. Do you have a kid or a husband? I mean, you won't understand until you get them. All right, I want to thank everybody that's contributed to the platform. Excellent dialogue. I see y'all. Y'all was going in today. Good dialogue. Who y'all got winning this game?
South Carolina.
Who y'all got? I know you watching it, Jay. I said, who y'all got?
The game over. South Carolina not coming away with this.
I got Iowa winning, man.
Iowa coming back.
Kayla gonna turn it up.
They only down by 6 now.
Yeah, I was coming back.
By 14 at first.
All right, fuck, I'm going to put the game on. Let's do it.
Yeah, I think the biggest lead was 12.
Or was it 12? Yeah, they was down by 12 like 3 minutes ago. So they closing the gap.
Yeah, it's 72 to 78.
780. They just
Oh, okay.